Much better, not much better. Words are hard. Happy Friday. Welcome to the stream, everyone. I'll have dinner with you. Yay! Because I got all my food here. So, I have my wonderful peach sweet tea. So good. Love it so much. It's so good. I love Zaxby's tea already, but then they added the peach one. And it's like there's like real peach in that syrup. It's good. So Viking good. I'm glad you're good. What are you having, or what have you eaten? You need to eat. I have fried pickles. So Viking good. Going to eat. Oh la la. You went there. Oh, la la. They also have these new things that I wanted to try. It's like a dessert. It's so we're gonna eat our dessert before we eat our chicken. Or try it anyway. Yes. Now I have this is cheesecake bites. Fried cheesecake bites. And it's supposed to have strawberry sauce somewhere. So let's find the strawberry sauce. I'm gonna make a mess. Strawberry sauce. So we're gonna have strawberry sauce with our cheesecake bites. Make it yummas! Alright. As long as I don't stain my desk red, we'll be good. Because if you don't, guys don't know, my desk is white. It's white. So we'll find out. Let's find out. Look, that goodness. You need smell-o-vision so you can smell it. And I can double dip because it's just me. Napkins. Your friends. I do need napkins. We're good. I'm gonna put this under the strawberry sauce. Probably a really good idea. Just wow. I agree. It's actually good. I feel like my eyes are super big and I'm not gonna be able to eat all this food, so good thing I have an air fryer because I can put it in the fridge and then heat it up later and it'll be nice and crunchy all over again. That's the best part. Air fryer is a lifesaver. Started using mine last year. Yeah, I was slow at using it first, but then I started realizing don't throw out your fries, don't throw out this. Just heat it back up. It's great. Makes it crunchy all over again. I didn't get one for the longest time. I ended up getting one as a gift, and I was like, finally! It has happened to me. I get an air fryer. Fry. Zaxby's fries are so good. They put so much seasoning on it. It's like It's like seasoning salt, kind of, but finer. Was old school oven for reheating? Yes, and it takes forever, and you're hungry, and you want to eat. Possibilities, uh-oh. I share. Want to fry? Who wants a fry? I don't think people know I'm live. It's actually going to be community night, too. So, I gotta figure out what game I'm playing. And my internet's behaving itself. I've dropped 0 frames so far. That's good. I don't know what the heck was up earlier. It's a mystery. Lots of apple moonshine. I got peach tea tonight. I don't know. This is gonna last me a little while. Makes me want some peach moonshine, though. Internets are really wonky. They be like that. Let me see. My Discord just now said I was live. It's lame like that. I'm gonna go sit in my live channel, but not talk yet. Peach moonshine is really good. 5 times combo. Takes me to 30 minutes. What's a 5 times combo, Stream Elements? Oh, the face thing you were making? It copied you. Bots becoming sentient? It copied the facial expression you've been using. Expecto Combo breaker? I've never seen that before. Welcome, Split. Welcome, Shane. Welcome, Wiggles. Happy Friday. Oh, is the warning new? It should say like 18 plus or something. It's probably just, they keep changing it on us. That means tacos and burritos on tonight's stream. Oh my god. No, there's chicken and pickles and cheesecake. A cache clean will pop up the warning. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe he cleaned his cache. What were you doing, Splints? Hi, Turtle. Welcome. Deep fried dumps. Yeah. Everything I have is fried. That's bad. Apparently I'm craving. Words are hard. Oh, it's dealing with Discord. That's right. I'm glad you got your account back. That had to be nuts. I would not want to deal with that. Hi, Mom. Apparently I'm Turtle's mom now. No E. No E. Let's be mentioned on. Okay. I was hungry. I was having internet problems for like a couple hours. Couldn't get my internet to work. Finally, I was just like, you know what? Maybe it's just my cable, my Ethernet. Even though it's new, I may have stepped on it a few times. So during the process of chaos here. So I went and got a new cable. And it came back, and I was like, well, for the heck of it, I'm going to test it real quick before I change out my cable. I tested it, it's working fine. I'm like, what the hell? So it's working fine now. But while I was out, I needed comfort food because it's been a week. It's been busy. It's been crazy. And I decided I wanted some Zaxby's. So I have lovely, wonderful fried pickles. I have cheesecake bites with strawberry sauce. I have fries. And I have chicken strips. That one's kind of weird. Chicken strips! Thank you, Frosty Tools. Plenty of soft. Conquer the world! Thanks for the lurk. Okay, go get your foods. Yum, yeah. So I have all the foods for tonight. I'm gonna snack while we game. I just gotta figure out what I'm gonna game yet, because I don't know. Oh, and I have peach tea. Not sponsored, but this is peach tea. It's so good. It was so bad. Just embarrassing after a lifetime of no incidents is all. It's okay, Splints. It's okay. It happens so much, you know? I'm just glad you were able to get it back. Was it really hard to get it back? Did it take a long time? I wouldn't even know what to do. I would, like, freak out. You know, in collars, like, collars on top of collars, just, like, all these winter layers, just... yeah, I don't know. I didn't change clothes when I got back from buying food. Just time you put in a ticket and wait. Okay. Oh my god, Momo. They have food here already because likely won't be able to leave the house. I honestly didn't want to leave the house. I was so cold, so tired. I just wanted to go to bed because it was that kind of day and my internet wasn't working. And I was like, well, you've got the perfect excuse just to go to sleep because your internet's not working. But then I decided that I'm gonna brave the cold and go get that cable. And while I was out, I got all this food. So I could hear it on stream. Could you not hear it? The special? Do it again. Type in exclamation Momo. $3 to use my Prime? 3 hours? That's so long. I have so many sounds on the moment. You're special. I don't have a mom command, guys. Momo and Turtle. Really? It's actually really loud right now to me. I don't know if it's really loud. You guys, exclamation. Yeah, right. I'm not saying it. I don't know. Maybe I will. Maybe I will. Mama can be my mommy. I don't know. It's Friday night. Why not? Wait, it can be weird. Little one. Shane with the he. Alright, let me join you guys and hang out and hear what you have to say while I continue to feed my face, and then we'll figure out what game we're playing tonight. A wild tangle appeared. Poke catch, guys, if you catch your Pokemon. And if you're new to the game, exclamation poke start. I'm just trying not to get food on my keyboard either. I should have, like, hand wipes or something. But here we go. Good luck on catching the Pokemon, guys. Good luck. Let me go find Discord. There are humans here somewhere. Oh, you guys are busy watching a game? Why am I getting... Ugh. No, we can't be getting Teams work notifications at this hour. Yeah. I can't have those popping up. Yeah, I'm sure you guys can hear that. Bling! I'm like, really? Oh well. Work is life. Oh, why is my desktop sounds not working? You can't hear the desktop at all. What the heck? This thing's just not gonna work today. I feel like that's the thing. At least y'all can hear me. Maybe y'all didn't hear the notification sounds. This is my response to today. Okay, y'all can definitely hear that. It's just coming through the desktop sounds. Or not the desktop sounds. Yeah, it did come through the desktop sounds. Anyway, you can hear the music though. I don't know why you can't hear my music playing. That's weird. Let's see. Do I have to turn it up? I've had music playing this whole time. Don't tell me I've been talking and all you can hear is my voice. Ah! Let's see. So yeah, I don't know. Dang it, computer. Oh, it's just got that particular sound turned down though. Weird. Alright, well maybe I can go in here, adjust things and such, and aha, here we go. Now you can hear it. You heard it both times? Okay. I forgot I got a new feature to adjust things. Thanks to Momo, there's new stuff on my Stream Deck. Oh, Momo, did you sent me that thing about Stream Deck sharing, right? Like you can share your setup with other people. That's really cool. It still says y'all can't hear Spotify. But now you can. Apparently I burnt myself in the butt, though. I think it's a single button. Alright, let's do... Hello everyone, we are live.
Yeah, I'm trying to find a satellite that
Let's see.
launched into space that we put all of our like, culture in and some like other stuff.
Could find all my buttons.
Like the Voyager probes. I mean, it didn't have all of our culture, but it was it had a lot of stuff on it.
And
anyway,
I think you can hear them.
BattleCat, we're live, like on
Yes.
so.
Well,
You're live. No, everyone. Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Don't mind anime.
Oh, they can't see you. They can just hear you. You're good. You're visually safe.
I'm like, oh shit, I got hyped.
No, I would warn you. I would warn you.
I have to put clothes on. That's weird.
Fuck, just joking. I got hyped and stuff. Maybe they don't see it.
Apparently, I get my own show.
That's what keeps her motivated.
It's all the stuff behind the scenes.
Pretty out there. It's like.
Yeah, BattleCat looks like he's pumping iron over there. I think he's just untangling cords, but it looks like he's pumping iron.
Crazy with the ropes, you know.
Oh yeah, the gym.
I got like cords everywhere. remember that scene right away.
Are special.
Oh God! Momo's here.
Quick, everybody go hide.
You can run, but you can't hide.
No.
I can't really hide
I'm pretty
anywhere.
good at hide and seek.
I'd get stuck under my bed if I tried to hide under my bed because the bed's no cat.
Oh jeez.
Although there is snow on the ground, so you probably could track me.
But yeah, Mono, I think it was about a single button from the Stream Deck, but it can be helpful, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Where did you?
Hey, you're back. What's up?
I've been back for a few days.
Yes,
Not much.
I wasn't here, so
Successful surgery.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
glad to see you got your account back and everything too. 'Cause, I went through that recently as well.
Yeah, you guys all getting hacked.
Not you too.
Oh,
Better not dreaming.
Yeah, I
When
haven't
did
got
you
hacked
have-
yet. I
It
feel
took
right.
about 57 hours or so to get it back.
Like now,
Okay,
now I've. Go ahead.
That's a lot worse than what mine was, because I just went
She's
through
in
my
the closet.
search history and went to get it back that way.
Oh, but did you have like 2FA
Oh
and
no,
stuff
they,
like that?
they changed my. No, I didn't have 2FA on.
Basically,
That's
what
my
I
fault.
did. Basically, what I did is I reported it to the devs office, and they were able to figure out who it was, confiscate it from them, and then hand it back to me.
Got my
Yeah,
ears.
that's what they did for me too. Because I still controlled the email address. I just didn't control.
Mhm.
I think they're on crooked.
Right.
And that's exactly how they got hold of mine.
And did you
Oh,
have
yeah.
2FA then?
No.
No, if you have 2FA, they
No, no.
cannot do it.
I mean, I heard of possibilities that people still could, but it's rare
only if
and it's harder, obviously.
If it's based on text messages, maybe they could by cloning your SIM card, but you have to
Yeah,
be a really important person for them to bother with that.
Basically, what
I
they
guess,
did is they made a duplicate account. In my case, something or other to that regard.
Oh, they didn't even make your. I see. No, I got my account stolen straight up.
Yeah.
Why do people even bother with that? Honestly, they're just
I
they're
don't
just
know.
trolling.
That's a long discussion that we could have offline.
Obviously, people have too much time.
I don't want to make Mono's stream all about
But
Yeah.
how I got hacked.
Well, that's
I mean,
what
everybody deals with these problems, but yeah, I get it.
Yeah, like I was
Basically,
afraid.
Not something you want to talk about.
Fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was scared when I called because I got Avast Premium Security, whatever virus protection, and I called I called them and I asked him a question, and I don't know what lead to what, but he actually was taking control of my computer because he had to do some stuff, and I was scared doing that.
Yeah, no, don't give them control at that point.
And then I go to do a
Well, it
scan.
depends on who you're talking to.
Yeah, and I do a scan. It's telling me I got
Doesn't matter who you're talking to.
Yeah, I got like 8 whatever something that's slowing down my computer. But when I click resolve, if they want me to buy this another something to go with it or whatever,
Yeah.
to add to it, and I'm like, no, you're telling me that because you want me to buy it. I'm not buying nothing. I'm fine with what I got. But when I was over the phone with them, man, I tell you, man, those people they want to sell you crap.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you
Yeah.
get this for like 30% off. Like, no, dude, I just want my question answered. I don't want to buy more stuff onto it to pay more.
Shame on them, men. Are they all like that?
No,
Just kidding.
it's pretty much any telemarketer
I know. I'm just messing.
like trying
It's
to
possibly
try to sell you
possible.
crap.
They sell you things that are
Yeah.
way
My
outdated.
problem was I was half asleep and didn't realize that the person wasn't speaking the way they normally did, and I just believed it.
You have to be careful too. Mine was actually text oriented, if I recall. I
No,
was getting false
same.
text.
It was a text.
I am gonna have to be right back.
Oh, your turn.
Your
Whether-
turn. It's like everybody take a turn.
Who wants
Yeah.
to get next?
Rain said she was having problems too.
Like,
Maybe it's the solar flares
But yeah.
acting up.
like I feel jealous.
it
I'm
could
not
be,
getting
What is responsible for all the
No.
technical failures? Mars?
Hmm.
India.
Which one
Solar
is
flares?
the-
Yeah, that's what I said. Solar flares.
Mm-hmm.
I have yet to experience a solar flare related issue. I know it's possible, like on the Nintendo, the original. It is entirely possible that a stray particle from the sun could corrupt your memory and mess up your game, but you would never know that was the cause.
No, you wouldn't,
Huh.
because that goes into nuclear physics.
When you said nuclear physics, that just reminded me of the movie Oppenheimer. That was a good movie.
Yeah, basically, it's the same stuff. Those particles are so rare, you would never know.
Oh no. Momo, you sent me a message. Am I allowed to open it?
Yeah, it's fine.
Don't do it. It's a scam.
I'm scared.
Security check.
Don't be scared, little lady. It's all fine.
I have an idea. Let lady open it.
Aww.
And then your computer's gonna say your computer
That's
will,
cute.
self-destruct in 5 seconds.
I didn't know she was saying sus things.
I'm not. It's literally just.
I saw it. Mm-hmm. It was so cute.
Has anybody
Because when
seen
you
lady?
sent it, I was like, then I had to do it.
Yeah. Usually she sends me messages like you're special and you know all that stuff.
Just do that now. You're special.
Yep.
It's free real estate. I think that's a
It's free real estate.
Good for your health, dummy.
Mm-hmm.
Tom
We've
goes to the
come
mayor.
to
Come on
contact you
now.
about your extended warranty.
With your car's extended warranty. What do they say for you guys?
I don't know. Some of the calls I get are like "Xing Shao," and I'm not trying to make fun of Chinese. Please understand that I just don't know Chinese. But like I'll answer, it's like "Xing Shao," and I'm like, what? Who would call me from China?
When I play, I don't answer those. The only time I answer my phone, because I have the number saved on my phone, if it's the number, it says the person's name, I'm like, okay. But if it's some random numbers, I'm like, I'm not touching that.
Mono. What do you mean by shooting for 9 p.m.?
Going live by
Well,
9
when
p.m.
you're
Stream.
at a clock,
Because I was having bad internet.
Oh gosh.
or maybe you look over there and hit the 3.
I didn't know if I was gonna make it.
And hit the 12.
This is the joke. Get a shooter screen.
Nope.
Oh, my mom's making popcorn. I can hear it.
Can you smell it yet, though?
No, she got for Christmas. She got like a carnival popcorn. It's on like
Oh.
wheels.
Oh, she's got like the whole stand-up thing.
Yeah, the stand.
Oh, jeez.
We have a kettle popper shaped like R2-D2.
Do that again?
Don't know if I could.
What other impersonations do you do?
We need that sound
Oh,
right now.
I can do lots of them, but if you put me on the spot, they don't work.
That makes sense. That's fair.
They just have to happen naturally.
That's fair. Can you do a Wookiee?
No.
Wow, that
All right,
that
Momo.
actually worked. Okay.
Where's your Stitch, Momo?
Oh wait, the Stitch is eating.
The Stitch. Stitch.
That was just for fun. Nothing to worry about.
Oh, Hana means family. Nice. Oh, catch guys.
Well, I know Wiggles.
You can do Patrick Star. You should join us and do it, Shane. Come show us Patrick Star.
Who are you gonna trust, me or a big dummy?
Oh my no.
I wonder if anybody here can do Scar from Lion King.
Do it.
Oh, well, that's, what's his name? Alan
I
Rickman?
would want to give you guys a chance first.
It's Alan
Oh, I
Rickman,
can't do
right?
voice.
That does Scar?
For the animated one? Yes,
Yeah.
I think.
Okay. So I would channel, what I would do is channel Robin Hood Prince
so
of
full.
Thieves, where he's like, "Why?" The guy goes, "Why a spoon?" He goes, "Because it'll hurt more, you twit."
There's
Hello.
one that my D&D guy.
I know it wasn't very good, but
Yeah, there's one that my it's the D&D people I play Dungeons and Dragons with. One of them does like the boulder, or something like that. It's from Avatar.
That's
Aroused
yeah.
by
The
idiots.
boulder is crushed. That this
No,
little
no,
girl
that's-
defeated him.
Yeah,
I'm
They do.
surrounded by idiots.
and the force you must.
Aw,
Yeah.
that's Yoda.
but the guy that does the Indiana Jones voice in the Great Circle, that guy is good. If you guys ever played that one, the new Indiana Jones game, the Great Circle.
It is
That guy,
amazing.
yeah, that guy
no.
does amazingly good.
Yeah.
No one calls Pokemon. That's just rude. Everybody tried. I wonder where Miss Lady Rain is tonight. Not
She was
feeling well.
she was playing a game, and I think it was intense, so she had to leave because the game
She is hooked on a game.
Dragon Age.
Yeah, she's playing the
Yeah.
Dragon Age Inquisition.
Mm.
That's the one that she's playing.
No wonder then.
Yeah.
That's like
Alright.
reading a good novel.
Momo, you're in charge. I'm gonna put my food away. I'll be back.
Yeah, she was
Oh,
hanging out
boy.
with like 7 of us and like
Oh,
trying to read
no.
all that. That's not gonna work.
No.
Now listen
Yeah.
up, everybody. Here's what I'm trying to do. No, I'm kidding.
My name's Wilford Brimley.
Are we gonna play prank?
Mono. Mono.
She's probably still wearing her earbuds.
Checking.
Absolutely. Cause
Oh no,
this stream
Kangaskhan
is sponsored
escape.
by Raycon. Enter code /MonoCat. No, I'm just
They
kidding.
get 10% off.
So who else?
Raycon,
Any
Raycon,
other
Raycon.
impressions?
Sunday, 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 Sunday.
Rigged. Rigged. I say rigged.
Do not kill me
Special.
there.
Totally big.
I have too much stuff on my desk.
You and me both.
Oh yeah, she's back.
Like, well, that's where you're at the most. That's where your stuff's gonna collect. So it's
I
like,
have like a
all my
4 foot
projects.
by 5 foot. I have 20 square feet of desk, and like it is covered.
I
wow.
have no feet of desk. There's
Mother.
computers there, monitors there. There's like,
Yeah,
Oh, no.
everything's just around it. It's bad.
Need a file.
I'm about to move, so it doesn't really matter. I'll clean it off and pack it up, and
You're moving?
at some point, yeah. I
Oh,
don't have to
wow.
live in Maryland anymore. I have a remote job. It's
Hello.
nice.
You're gonna move to Florida, right?
Freaked out.
Florida? No, I've already lived there.
Mm,
I'll come visit.
big
Okay.
pythons for me, thank you.
Oh, well, you gotta go really far south for that.
I went 3
Mm-mm.
hurricanes back to back in Florida. I'm done with that.
you
That
move up to
too.
Michigan.
No, it's too
Michigan?
cold.
Well, I was born in Fargo, North Dakota, so I understand that area. But
Also, I get terribly seasick on big bodies of water.
all right, no pirate life for you then.
No Lake Erie for me, thank you.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Hi, Shane. Welcome.
Hello, hello.
I need to start calling you Shane. That'll help.
Shane,
Just for
Shane,
that, yeah.
Shane.
Trying to pronounce that
Yeah.
combination of syllables.
Chain.
Not sure
Oh,
I get
by
it
the way-
right.
Why does it sound like a sound?
Ow, ow, ow. She's here. She's here. It screams in my ears so loud
What is?
on the stream. I don't know why it's turned up so loud, but it
Yeah, it
is.
didn't play. It didn't play to us.
Doesn't?
Oh, wait, no,
Ah.
I have it muted.
I
Sorry,
hear
I'm just
something,
listening to you
yeah.
in Discord. I forgot.
I hope
By
it
the way,
does.
I didn't want to hear
It's-
myself twice. That's why.
You good?
It's not Shane, it's... No, this is Patrick.
Nice.
Patrick.
Yeah, what I said earlier was my favorite line, but like that was just so perfect. Who you gonna trust, me or a big dummy?
Ooh,
Trust me, European.
I'll bet I could do a Mike Wazowski.
Oh, that's the girl.
Wazowski.
Oh, you want to be the boss?
Paperwork done.
Wazowski.
Jeez.
Is that the
Always
lady spider? I
watching,
think that was pretty close.
Wazowski.
Yeah.
Always watching. No, it's the slug woman.
Yeah, the one that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the slug woman. Yeah.
Karen.
You're right. Yeah. Okay.
I can't
Mhm.
remember her name, but I'm probably not supposed to.
I haven't seen
You
that
know,
movie
that-
in way
Okay,
too
you
long.
need to. You need to.
No, I've seen
if
it.
you
Just
haven't
it's been
yet.
a long time.
So what are we playing tonight? Marbles, golf, or duck simulator?
I'm able to move
hell
my
is
arm
Duck
again, so I'm
Simulator?
good with. I'm good
Well,
with both.
preferably
I
one that
don't
we
get
can
Duck
interact with.
Simulator, honestly.
Well, that's it depends on who wants to actually play a game or who just wants to hang out.
I'm
I mean,
good either way.
golf,
I
but
mean-
can we not start on Candyland? Can we start like on Forest?
Yeah,
Which forest?
I think so.
Three. Which forest? There are 3 of them.
The main one,
I
The
imagine
easy
they're
one?
all easier than Candyland.
the first one.
Because it is.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can make that work.
Correct. Yeah,
Let's
you
do
got
it.
and then my hair's got knots in it already.
Uh-oh.
Place.
My hair's
hate
not
it.
quite long
Need a
enough yet.
brush.
It's still only.
Open it up here.
I'm surprised. It's so cool seeing you with longer hair.
It'll be longer. Just wait. I'll turn into a dirty geese.
It's very red, isn't it?
It's gotten more brownish red as I got older. It used to be super blonde, but yeah.
Because you don't go in the sun now.
It's 'cause I'm a house troll. Yes.
Yes. Oh no, Mama! Why are you licking me? I just now saw that.
You almost got away with it.
What? She licked me back? How?
Uh,
Hacks.
Splits too. Oh jeez.
You just get targeted.
Apparently. Sorry, let's hug somebody.
Oh, no,
Proving
guessing
that.
myself.
Rain, I call hacks.
Yeah, I'm in the whatever. The
Let's
golf
see.
is, right?
Cookies. Add. Yeah, I hadn't turned it on yet. Let's see.
Oh, forever alone.
You shipped with yourself. That's impressive.
Yep.
We're playing.
I guess myself, I ship with myself, but I lick
If
Mono.
you wanted, Jeff,
Let's see who I ship with.
You hadn't even started yet.
I shipped with Shane.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hop up
Let's
in.
see.
I honestly
What was
forgot
that?
what the password is.
I hadn't even turned it on the game, so it ain't gonna work. It ain't gonna work till I turn on the game.
Oh, I could start.
Well, it's not like we're streaming, so we could just couldn't we?
I'm
Oh,
trying to
well, we
remember,
are
like,
streaming.
With
Yeah.
a number and something, cat something.
It's right there in the
We-
side chat.
Yeah, we
Don't
are
read it out
streaming.
loud.
Yeah, we are
Well,
actually.
We're
There
not
we go.
streaming yet, are we?
We
Yes,
Yes,
we're
we are.
live.
We have
Right,
been.
though.
We've been live.
We've been
Yeah,
live.
Tank, I put it.
We're in the live
chat.
channel. We're in the live channel, so.
It's up
Well,
there.
yeah, but do you have your fandom up and about? I
It's
can't
not
tell.
open yet.
No,
Oh,
it's
yeah,
not
there's
open
people
yet.
here.
Yeah, who do I?
Hello there.
There's 9 of us, and there's not 9 of us here, so there's at least one person watching.
Turtle. Myrtle. And
Turtle.
Bloody was there. Bloody was lurking, so he's probably still lurking.
People in my thing, they're showing up.
I bit myself, apparently.
Oh
Okay.
no.
Bit myself.
Run.
Oh god, that's so loud. I can't hear anything. I have to figure out how to fix this. When the sounds go off, I can't hear nothing.
They've always been kind of loud, though.
I just turned
Yep.
the volume down for golf.
That's why I tried to do the RAR, but I wasn't subbed yet.
I don't know where it's at. There it is.
Bro.
Okay, that should be better.
currently at the main menu of Golf with Friends.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I haven't
you,
clicked onto a game or anything yet.
I see
Mans.
Wiggles and then Lady Ryan. I'll just say Lady.
Rain.
Ryan. Woo!
Rain.
Lady Ryan.
Snap. Oh snap.
She's gonna kill me for that, but it was
I
worth
got a
it.
few of you friended, but not all of you yet. Momoro, how
Nani?
do I not have you friended on Steam?
I don't know. We didn't play
Probably haven't
games
played together.
yet.
Yeah.
How does that happen? We played golf so many times together.
I don't know, Momo. Every time I say the full thing, Momoru. I feel like I'm saying it Japanese. Momoru.
Because it is.
Okay.
I actually
That
wanted to
makes
go for
sense.
clumsy Momo, but it was taken. So then I
Momoru.
thought of Totoro. So I made it Momoro. Clumsy Momoro.
Yeah, she's Momo, I'm Mono. She's Peach. Momo is a peach.
Yeah, Momo,
I could
no,
probably
Momo means
write that
peach.
if I wanted
Exactly.
to. Like, her calligraphy.
She is a peach.
Everything peachy.
Yes.
I wonder if you translate it to Peach Child.
I just heard an owl outside. Out of all the sounds
Yeah,
to hear right now, I heard an owl go,
probably Kodomo is
"Ooh."
something.
Would be Momomaru?
Welcome, Rain.
I think
Momomaru?
Momoko would be Peach
Momoko?
Child.
Oh, god dang it. Hit cancel because it's in the wrong spot.
Because Ko is kid.
Kodomo.
Yeah, Kodomo.
I mean,
But you can also say Washi no Ko, which means my
shadow
child,
child.
for example.
Oh, yeah, it's like slang. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
can't click
not
your name.
slang.
My child.
Slang is different, but it's more like dialect or.
We're up. If you're joining golf,
Trying to.
you know the password.
Well, and I know I got the password. I'm just trying to. I'm at the main menu right now.
Beat the speed thing.
Okay.
And I
let me
see
try that capital.
Wiggles is on
It's
here.
the way I
but
typed it.
Oh my god. I need some wine. I don't have any.
No.
I have peach tea Momo instead. I have Momo instead.
Some wine
She's
to
been drinking me
drink.
all day.
Momo tea. I have Momo tea.
Momo teen?
Momo tea. Peach tea. Momo tea.
Oh, there we
I
go.
was thinking Ovaltine.
No!
Ovaltine.
Momo teen.
More Ovaltine, please.
No.
Kids, drink your Ovaltine.
Oh,
Wouldn't drink it.
that was weird and liked it.
Hey, back in the day, it was better than most choices.
Syrup.
Yeah. I liked it better than Nestle Quick, believe it or not. The little bunny crap. That stuff was just pure sweet.
This way, though, is milk and Hershey's syrup. Yeah.
Oh.
I think Nestle depends on where you buy it, probably.
That's probably true, yes.
You need the
Because
password.
here it's the best one.
Yeah, because I'm
It's in the top right.
It's in the top right. Chat.
Please do not read it out loud.
No, I'm not
But it's
going
up there.
to. It's just every time I put it in, it keeps.
Don't
saying,
make me change it.
Dude, there's
It's
a time
valid.
frame.
Just copy and paste it. Copy and paste it so you don't have to type it. Just control.
Also, when it first comes up, you don't have
P.
to click in it. That's the problem I experience the most is you click in it and it's like you're out of it.
Yeah,
Just
don't
type.
click in it.
Enter, you can't do it anymore.
No, you haven't been able to hit enter.
Yeah. Man, it's only been
Poke
what,
catch.
a year and a couple months since
If
they
you want the
changed it?
bunny.
You heard her. Bunnelby,
Excuse me.
PokeCat.
Bunny! Catch the bunny!
Yeah, it says it's valid
Bunny.
Then you're doing it wrong.
What?
And you're doing it and you're doing it and you're doing it wrong.
So
I'll join you on golf.
What
Do?
I would do first is I would
Come
copy and
play.
paste what
Turtle
that's
on
there,
golf. Oh,
Jokes, butthead.
Copy
So
and
mean.
paste, I should say.
When the prompt comes up, you don't have to click in it because you're already in it. Just type
No.
and then click confirm.
So there you go. The first letter should be capital.
Yeah, that too.
Kappa.
I already did I? Okay. Nope.
Get you security.
Exactly as I typed it.
There we go.
There you go.
Got it.
I'm in now too.
Ooh,
Thank you,
it's getting
friends.
cozy in here.
Yeah. I'm some cucumbers.
Terrible.
Place at the clubhouse.
Let's
Got
see.
some raspberries here, and I'm stoked.
Raspberry jam.
Raspberries.
Not without
Did I
bread.
say it like
The
that?
company.
Almost.
Those are
yeah.
cute.
It was close
He's
to
got
it.
some raspberries.
Some nice raspberries.
Blueberry.
Yes.
I found a way to play Pokemon on your phone. Yay!
Blueberries, you can mash them up, put them in a
I
smoothie,
have-
put 'em in a-
You mean beyond Pokemon Go? What game are you playing on your phone? Which Pokemon?
The weirdest like accent
Crossover?
come from the Canadian.
Or nowhere.
Oh no, I was going to like the Bubba Shrimp with the berries. I don't know.
I know.
Blueberry
Oh.
turnover.
We're gonna play some golf though.
Crumble cake.
You asked me to do a Canadian accent. I don't think I could.
Pokemon White
Sounded
on
like
your
Mike
phone?
Myers.
Can you try
That's
it?
cool.
No, not
Yeah,
right
you
now.
can do emulators, Momo.
Yeah.
Damn it.
I could do an Irish
Momo.
accent a little bit when I sing
That's
Celtic
the
songs.
first time I made that mistake.
Oh,
I've done it. It's your turn. About time.
No, I don't wanna.
If you wanna
We're just
play
trading names.
Pokemon games, like
Yeah.
all that stuff, let me know. I could probably get you the
Okay.
word. There's other people here who.
I
can do
used
this,
I used to
but-
have the emulator on my PC and I used to have the games, but I don't have that computer anymore, so I would have to start all over.
Here.
I do have to
We'll
dolphin.
get you set up. No
one
worries.
thing.
Don't worry, I didn't.
If anyone knows of
Oh,
a
no,
Switch
you're cool.
emulator,
There's a.
I'm
oh,
here. Time to end. Oh, no,
End the
it's
stream.
here. Oh.
there is a what?
GameCube emulator, but you have to change the hardware out for it.
Oh no, yeah.
The GameCube emulator. Yeah, that's not too bad. You
Ran
just
out
need the
of
BIOS.
shots and
You need the
tracks.
BIOS for
How
that
does
one.
this work? Wait a minute. I'm in practice mode. How did I run out of shots?
Everybody. Wait, what?
Shot.
Thank you. I thought I was carrying that.
Oh, I actually started singing earlier, but realized that I was muted. I was like,
Did you guys start without me or something?
No, we have not started. We're still sitting in the
we've
lobby.
not started
Kimono
yet.
just ran away because, excuse me, the artist mate showed up, and well, that's the end of the stream.
Is she gone? Is it safe?
No, she says lol. She's still here. She's tricking you.
Hello there, mother.
It was Liz. I'm only kidding.
Rude. Ooh, my other mommy's here. Just kidding, sorry.
oh,
Oh.
Kimono's so bad.
Oh,
She
God.
needs two
We
mommies.
were doing that earlier and you missed that. Excuse you. I mean, that's mother to you.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Mother.
mother.
Bye, mommy.
Also, Battle
It's a
Cat.
good Doctor Who episode, by the way. Anyway,
That's a
Hmm.
good show, Doctor Who. Well,
are you my mommy?
All right,
Oh,
I think
no,
we're all
no,
in
no,
here,
give me
right?
Nightmares. No.
Oh,
Stop,
sorry,
stop,
sorry,
stop.
sorry.
Oh,
I'm done. My bad. I didn't realize
it's
it was that
okay.
scary.
Wait.
That,
can you
yeah,
do that
it was
again?
so scary for me because it was like zombie-esque. I don't know.
That laugh. That.
I don't remember how it went, and I'm very happy for that.
Winnie the Pooh?
Freaking wow.
I mean, Fozzie's a bear too, but he's not nearly that scary.
Okay.
You think they want a picnic
Wait
basket?
for the time he tore the heck.
You know what that means? I ate so much food that I had 2 margaritas. The boys are confused.
You only had 2?
I can't help it.
Sorry, it's not as sarcastic as it seems.
Yeah.
Artist probably a lightweight.
Artist is feeling spicy.
I'll be.
Yeah.
I'll make you a
Uh,
spicy
yeah.
margarita.
Alright.
I
comfy PJs and diamond painting. Yes.
Cannot have alcohol with painting.
What were you thinking? Oh, nothing at all. No, nope, just pure innocent things. That's all.
I'd whistle if I could, but my mic won't pick it up.
I do have in Discord
I heard a little bit of a whistle there.
That was
arts and crafts planned for tomorrow night if anybody's around.
It's tomorrow? Wasn't it on Sunday?
No, it's tomorrow at 7. And then,
Well, you see, Mercury. Oh my god.
so if you're still around, oh, I'm gonna have a date with a boy. Okay, that's more important
Did I just say?
than us girls.
I did misread it.
But you know, it's in my regular Discord, so anybody can join.
Ew, you have
Mercury's
a
in
date with
rapper
boy?
grade.
Yeah, we gotta play with boys, but they better be arts and crafting.
Venus.
Yo, so I was just out for a dog walk, and you can see
4
Venus.
months? You're celebrating the 4
Hi,
months?
Tex. Hi, Michigan. Y'all join in the game?
Yeah.
Hurry!
We don't have
4 months today. I know you have vanished. Just kidding.
I'll be back in a few. Since
Actually, we may have heard more of you. But I'm just kidding. You just haven't been streaming. We do miss you hanging out, though. You did hang out the other day. So, yeah, you've been around.
I get one of those you know, the blurring
Yeah,
things
we
that
need
people use?
streams and we need you hanging out with arts and crafts.
Background would be like that.
It's all good, though.
So, Jamie, just for
Or like a
Context.
black.
Michigan,
I
Tex.
literally just got home. I could see Mars, Jupiter, Uranus.
Sorry.
No kidding. That's weird.
And
I shouldn't laugh. I'm such a child.
all, like, while I was walking my dog.
I'm just a kid.
Saw all the.
That's cool. Depression got me for a bit, not gonna lie, and combined with traveling literally every weekend for something drained me on top of creating stuff every other day with a deadline. I can imagine you were trying really, really hard at things. But right now it's so cold, I imagine you're ready to take a break and just chill. It'd probably be good for you. Chill, literally, it's cold. Alright, everybody in that's joining and going to play. Oh, we gotta wait for Splints to come back.
Yes, I am.
Splints, hurry up.
Traveling begins back in March, so I'm hoping to create a streaming schedule by February. Woohoo! Traveling again. Traveling begins back in March, not it begins. Traveling begins. I'm proud of you. Go for it. If being a traveling vegan makes you happy, go for it, artist. I will promote you. Your cause. I mean, you love meat.
Whoa.
Some T-bone steak.
Oh, I'm gonna be good.
Mhm.
Here we go.
Oh,
Oh, it goes panic. Yes, panic button. Panic button. I'm not gonna say anything. Lies.
Not gonna do what he thinks he's gonna do. Freak out.
Yeah, panic. Thank you, Wiggles, for hitting the panic button. Because I'm panicking with my words. I don't know what to say and not say. Teehee. Welcome back, everyone. I'm gonna hit start button.
I think we're ready to go.
Black cat ears. Got it.
And away we go.
Start.
I know if we're waiting
Is this
for
speed
someone
No.
golf?
I don't think so.
No speed. I figured
It is?
Splints did not want speed, I figured.
Oh no, I don't care.
Oh, he's like, let's start with Forest, so I figured you wanted to start kind of chill.
I just
but
wanted
thank
to play a
you.
course that is, like, familiar.
Who else playing? We have Battle Cat. We have another cat. We have Jaffron. We have Michigan. We have Texas here, but he's not playing. And we have Splints. We have Shane. We have Wiggles, Momo, Tank. We have a bunch of people in here.
I'm not in there.
No, Peach isn't in here. Mommy's in here.
Mother.
Oh God.
Mother.
Stop! You're gonna make me say it again, and I was told not to.
Say it. I dare.
High five, high. Boop. Aw, thank
No,
you.
you wanted me not to.
Was it me? Really?
I got booped on the nose.
It was the Doctor Who episode thing.
Oh yeah, but that's mom.
Hole in one. Hole in one.
That's different. Are you my daddy?
Oh, I'm getting friendly.
Mona doesn't need booze. She's already there. She's like, yeah. She's
What? Did you say? I thought you said the other B word for a second.
Misheard.
She's already.
I said she's already there.
I thought you said bobas.
Booze with a Z, not a B.
No, I heard the other one. I heard the other one.
I think I didn't.
I know what you heard.
You know what I heard?
What?
I don't know a single word.
Sheep?
Yeah, I heard
Beep beep.
Cheep, cheep.
Beep.
Stranger things.
Sheep, sheep, beep.
Herder.
Beep, beep, the sheep.
Beep beep. I'm a sheep.
Beep, beep.
Wiggles, you almost made me sing that song you've been linking.
Hole in one. Hole in one. Hole in one. I'm gonna be working on a diamond painting, but I'll be here. Sweet. Okay.
What diamond pin is it? Show us.
Yeah, which painting? Is it one of those, oh, it's probably not a lewd one this time. Because there are
A lewd one?
small ones present.
I know, I'm feeling left out here. What's going on?
Wait, excuse me?
It's in chat. Go look in chat if you're confused.
I'm gonna get her in trouble.
She was actually on the Titan.
I'll be good.
But I'm too late.
You should be like, ma'am, ma'am, ma'am.
She
I can hear it now.
Look at all them second places. Oh, this one always gets me.
Let's go. Yeah, I don't usually give it enough heat.
Far or not far
Yep.
enough.
That time was way too far, but
Whoa, somebody else knocked me out. What the
a
hell?
lot of people slowed me down. It was great.
I was aiming to get in by the back wall. That was spoiled.
I was
though.
doing just
Thankfully,
fine,
I
and then
wasn't
somebody
knocked off
flipped me up in
completely.
the air.
Wasn't me.
Oh, what the heck?
Wasn't me.
Alright, I'll take
That-
a
what
photo
song is
of
that? Wasn't me.
this.
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna have a
I need to invest in a small lap
It wasn't me.
table, and this cardboard box is not doing it for me. Yes, you do need a small lap table.
She caught me inside her. It wasn't me.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I was just talking about, the bathroom in the kitchen.
Very
you
flat
know?
bar.
Before wasn't me, yeah.
Oh well, artist, you have those you have the tables, but there's also the ones that have like a cushion underneath, so you can sit on the couch.
Yeah, the laptop ones. It depends on how big your painting
Oh,
is.
I do that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Wiggles, why?
But yeah, they got the ones for your laptop.
Yeah, I've never tried the ones without the pillow. Like I always had the one with the pillow underneath.
Yeah.
You know, they also have like the table ones. Yeah.
I just want one of the, or she could use like one of those bed and breakfast trays.
Yeah, those. Yeah.
Do you have a bed and breakfast tray? You need one. You need one, artist. You need one for science. You need a bed and breakfast tray for science that you can also use for diamond painting.
You bounced off of me.
I was in the air already, though.
Yeah.
Oh, and
It's
one.
okay, but that was amazing.
Look at you.
It's
I'm
like you
about to
shot me.
spend $600 this weekend. I can't. Oh no.
Lullaby.
School. No, you're done. Are you done with school stuff,
I'm
right?
just kidding.
What are you spending $600 on?
Tattoo?
Books.
Oh, school. I was right.
Mona was right.
Everybody. Free books.
Meow. No, not that hole. That's the wrong hole.
That's what
Excuse
she
me?
said.
They're only
Add
Ooh.
quotes.
I think it's already a quote.
I don't even know how to add those anymore. It's been so long.
I think it's like something like there's no such thing as a wrong hole. I think it's already a quote or something.
I disagree.
No, the
That's a personal preference, usually per person. So yeah.
Whoa.
Hey, how many of us called that Pokemon? 3 of us?
Hey, nice.
Oh.
Yeah.
No,
Dang it,
not
dang it,
school.
dang it.
I was saying yes to being done with school. Oh, okay. Sweet.
Wee.
Yeah, that stuff's over.
Well, she's still on Dragon Age.
Hey, that didn't show up on stream. You didn't have to call her.
Dragon
Well, it did
Ball.
for my screen.
Screen,
See.
but not on stream.
Well, it would have on Momo's
Stream.
too because she's streaming golf.
No, but I think she's turned off her notifications.
Ah, I didn't know you could do that in Steam.
Yeah, you can put it in
Dang
the
it.
streamer mode.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Trying to go around you. Okay, never mind. Whoa! Whoa!
Ah, slightly off.
You sound like a friend of mine. She always makes that sound.
Jeez.
Like Osen.
Owen Wilson, yeah.
Drink
I
some
didn't
water.
watch it, Billy. She just goes.
Owen Wilson.
Owen Wilson, yeah.
What did I say? Osen?
Yes.
Sorry.
That's fine.
Pardon me.
Kimona!
I can't. Oh God, I went way too hard.
I jumped over the hole. Sorry.
You can totally join, but then I'll have to end stream. Because I'll get to. Never mind.
But if you join voice chat, oh my goodness, it would be.
I'm
a party
gonna have to
of
leave.
two.
I'm gonna have to leave. Just kidding. No, you can totally join.
I'll have to leave and stream.
I'll have to leave for sure. I won't be able to handle it.
Get up in here.
I'm your biggest fan.
One of us. What is it? Google gobble, Google gobble? I don't know. I forget.
I make you hot and sweaty, don't I?
Whoa.
Oh, I almost had it.
It's a good thing I already finished my scroll.
Oh, that was close.
That was almost there. I kept getting hit further away.
Yeah. Good thing people don't clip in my channel. We're good.
Well, they do. I'm just too busy right now.
No, they haven't. I think the last time somebody clipped something was August.
Yeah, I tried to last time, but I was too busy with the golf.
Oh.
The one that you asked for. I tried.
Because it was
to,
like speed golf or something, wasn't it? So
Well,
you
it wasn't
you.
speed golf. It was just a really difficult course, and I couldn't
Wee.
work it out.
Oh. Don't put baby in a corner.
Hello, everybody.
Look at me. I'm not in the corner. And I also did not hit it nearly hard enough.
Shane, let me out of the corner.
No,
Shane has me
you're in front of
pinned in the corner. On my stream, you're in front of me.
On my side, you're in front of me.
See, look, proof. And now my thing's
Somebody
messed up.
Jump.
Mono, I think
See, he was definitely in front of me. I couldn't go.
It's really
he
hard
was
to
trying
tell
to.
who's in front of you.
On,
Because he's
on
still in
my
the corner.
I believe
On my
you.
screen, you have
And
it.
if you had went, then it probably would have done the same thing.
Hiding inside of the log. That was weird.
Daggone
That
it.
was not some sort of innuendo. I was just saying, like, your name tag was partially in the woods. Anyway.
I'm done. I'm done.
First stream.
I'm leaving. I'm done.
Oh no.
Mono, it sounds
I'm leaving. Yep. Somebody needs a quote splits today.
Oh my gosh. I almost got put in.
Somebody needs to pull quote split. Say.
Hi,
Where's
Daddy.
Lucy?
That's Wiggles, not me. No, No, Michigan, don't go there.
Oh no, where am I at?
Circle the drain.
Dang, man. I went to one hole and then the other
Damn.
hole I couldn't.
Rejected.
Rejected.
There it is. I had to go in.
You were
You got
blocked.
squeezed out.
What?
Softer.
Well, I only have one.
There. I'm missing color.
Oh, I'm being. I need to shush.
Ah, there. I need some Friday Night Lights.
No! Why would you go too far?
Go. Oh, you guys are all sitting there.
No.
I would have had a hole in one, but everybody was sitting there.
Mother Fletcher.
Hey, we're all waiting for.
You probably are.
No,
Artist.
I got a bogey on one of my best holes.
Yeah, there goes my lead.
Wait,
That,
Kelly,
yeah, let's not. Nope. Nope.
Artists, come play with us.
I tried, but I stopped myself.
Come play with us.
I realized what I said.
Yeah, what
after I
was
said
that?
it. Just stop.
Hold on, Kimono might.
All the quotes on Splints. I don't think we have any quotes from Splints yet.
Oh, don't jump off. Oh, wow, that was cool. Nope.
Ah!
almost
I
got
messed
one
that
on
up. I like all your electrical lines there.
This one.
Your
I knew how
electric
to kill
wiggles.
the one, and I forgot. I don't remember how to do it anymore.
Jumpy.
I know it's jumping.
Yeah,
I don't
it's just
remember
jumping.
the timing.
I used to slightly do to the left too, but I don't know, or to the right, but you don't have to even do that. You can go straight.
What do you call these things? The not
Conveyor-
escalators, but
conveyor
the
belts?
walking, yeah, the conveyor belts. They don't work the way they used to.
Yeah, they tweak stuff.
Oh my god, I went out of the course and I didn't even try to.
Good job.
I hate this one.
I want speed.
Oh,
Get
no,
off
this is
me!
not good.
No! Get off me!
Well, now I'm trapped again.
Get off.
Somebody, knock it off.
Am I in? Oh, I'm good. I'm good. Okay.
I was in some of the weirdest predicaments.
No, I'm not safe.
Don't touch me.
I jumped at a bad time again, didn't I?
Wait,
Watch out, man.
is there no
They're
jumping?
ninja sub-
No! No!
Why am I not jumping?
Uh,
Oh, now, now
What the heck? Shane! Your slow-mo ball didn't let me in the hole.
It has a crappy rubber band core. Can't roll between the log.
That's the closest corner.
Okay, Adam Sandler.
Okay, at least you knew what I was going for. Thank you.
There you go. Oh no! Hit it again!
I thought it was so far off that you wouldn't even know.
did I hit somebody in?
Piece of shit.
Alright.
Oh, that was bad.
Gaffron, jump over the log. There you go.
There it is.
Oh, you got caught up in it.
Come on, jump,
Maybe-
jump,
maybe
yes,
it's
you
clear.
made it.
Hey, did it.
Good job.
Bad.
I'm glad it didn't
I'm so
push you off
proud.
the cliff.
Oh, we tied, Mono.
Yeah, we tied.
Yeah, but I'm the only third, which makes me unique.
And you needed one more point to completely win Battle Cat. If you would have had one more point, you would have had 69, and we count that as a win.
That's a nice.
Hello, little one. Hello, little one.
Oh, artist, you can't tease joining the voice chat and not do it.
I know, man.
The long shot. Ooh, I got a
Well, I'm
beehive.
gonna go
Yeah.
get a beer.
Dusty! Welcome, Dusty. Yeah, so y'all can take a break real quick before you do the next round.
I'm like, is the green arrow good and the red arrow bad, or
Is that
red
okay?
arrow good, green arrow bad? I don't know.
Momo has got lots of giggles. I'm worried.
Delicious.
Gigglicious.
Honestly, I really want to do voiceover, so probably would be good.
I'm gigglicious.
When I was at my friend's house, we just started all of a sudden started laughing for no particular reason.
Oh no.
Fun.
Tastes like Pop Rocks.
So So carbon
Not to be mistaken with crack rock.
monoxide or dioxide.
Oh.
Just straight on meth.
Who's eating crack?
Oh no.
I want some.
Drano, oh my goodness.
Give me
Haven't
that
heard about
Yeah,
the shaking.
no,
Flavor
not
crack
for
rock.
me.
I need to start drinking. I'm not at the level.
I need you guys to stop.
I'm totally
Hey.
sober, but you know me. I never
Stop.
need booze to be like this.
Stop
Have
messing
a
around.
drink.
Yours
And
have
then
a
you
better
met us.
personality.
Is that what you're saying?
Oh, I'm saying I'm already fucked up in the head without using alcohol.
Fucked up in the head.
Well, you just
I
have a
would blame
better
you, but
personality.
pain
To
medication
the key
says
of
it
Under
was.
the Sea, though.
Thank
like,
you
fucked
for
up
saying
in
it
the
that way.
head.
I think we all are, man. We got
Fucked up
that
in the
little
head.
guy in our head that's trying to get out. Sometimes he gets out, but sometimes he don't.
All that matters.
I don't know. Y'all are weird. I think I need to find new friends.
Good luck.
That's why he
I'm
keeps
not
coming
weird.
on
Stuck
back.
with us.
I find that offensive.
I find you offensive. Okay. Listen here.
Wait.
Come on.
Well,
Keep
alright
it
then.
nice.
Beating
Keep
a
it
dead
nice.
horse.
Play
I
nice,
really,
boys.
yeah, I mean, unless I got the ability where I could jump through my computer screen into his computer screen, and I show up in his room, then maybe.
Littering it.
As I
Just
say to
nah,
Jill all the
it's like
time,
ring.
I will drive to Michigan to poke
To
him
give
in
him
his
a
eye.
cuddle?
I don't think his
Yes.
hair is right
With
for
my
it.
fisties.
He wants to cuddle
No,
his
no.
brain with his
Fissy cuddle.
fingers.
Alright,
You need to
Play
knock down and
nice.
lift
I
the
might
Play
die.
nice.
I might die.
Down,
I
boys.
might die.
I'll be waiting. I'll just sit out.
I'm
I'll just
blue. If
sit
I was,
in the-
or wait, no,
in the
I'm
porch.
green.
I'll sit in the
Wow,
porch
I messed
waiting,
that up.
so.
Get me a
I'll just
flight.
sit in the porch
I'll
waiting
stick up for
man.
him.
I will, lad.
I just want to.
And then I'll be looking at my clock, going, "Man, this guy's taking a long time to get here."
Hey Joe, you wanna wrestle?
Hell yeah, bro.
In the mud.
But also
You
make
wanna
sure
wrestle in the mud?
wrestling?
Now you
You
wanna
never,
wrestle?
you never seen these fists.
I want to wrestle.
I'm sorry, but my dear,
I would
yes,
say
yes.
something, but it'd be kinda
Come
dirty,
here,
I don't wanna-
Momo, artist.
Like
Bite me.
Get up in there.
like jump from the third rope wrestling, you know?
Is
Yeah.
This a command? It's
Okay,
whoops, I
I'll
hit
do it.
caps lock. Alright,
I don't know
let's
if I
not
can
do
get
that.
back up after doing it, but I'll do it.
That's what
Nope.
he
Da da
I'm gonna
da.
hit someone obscure if I start doing that.
Just trying to make it excuse me. Just trying to make it easier.
Okay, I see everybody's here, I think.
Was text you?
Everybody.
Tex, are you joining?
Can't get
Golf,
in.
Oh,
golf,
yeah.
golf,
Okay.
golf, 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 golf.
Is it because your game won't start or you need the password?
Yeah, it could be a password.
It probably is.
Ah.
Pick voice
Capital
call
letters.
in
We're all playing with our
Discord.
balls here, so.
Sorry.
Wait, he's cheating. He has two. What?
Keep
No
hitting
giggles.
caps lock.
Wow.
Hey, I get it. I giggled.
Well, it's you. What about everybody else? Everyone else dead silent.
Finisher?
Oh, I'm
I
here.
thought that said fight with KimonoKat in Discord.
Oh, we're gonna
Here.
fight everybody.
I mean, you could have at least grown.
There.
Come on.
By Talos.
Oh my.
I wasn't trying
Oh
to go
my.
that direction. Or was I?
Oh my. Okay, we're gonna go back to little me now. so,
It starts with that,
so you can see how red I get.
it starts with that game.
Mono.
This game isn't like this.
Cat
where, like,
fight?
Chris owns it and everybody can play it.
I just
We have a ball
won.
with that. We have a ball with that one.
Yep,
That's
you
the
did.
First rule of cat fight.
Oh,
Don't
if
know.
only Rain was here, she would have taken issue with that statement.
Yeah.
That means spray bottles are
You can
legal.
do exclamation boss if you want to join a boss fight. We can do a boss fight too. But
Alright.
Word bottles.
alright, I think we're good.
Been removed. I've been kicked.
I just want to get my golf ball in the hole.
No, you gotta put in
Oh, it's
text.
yeah.
You know the
Copy and
password in the
paste.
corner is the one that I put.
Yeah.
Stay back, I have
Password
no.
in the top right chat
cooldown.
is the one that I put in.
Yeah, it's just exclamation boss, not boss fight.
Oh.
Does that make sense what I'm saying, Tex?
Well, kind of waving your hand like this.
Maybe.
I put that in.
Wave your hands.
Don't hit enter. Click on confirm or whatever the button says.
Yeah, no, click.
Yeah,
Password is 123. So let's type that in.
No, it's not. It's Knick Knack Paddywhack.
Oh, is it?
Give a dog a bone. There's no Knick Knack Paddywhack. Give a dog a bone.
So much fake information.
Mhm.
Tools.
If you don't have bagpipes in the background, it won't work.
How did it turn
Password
into a
is-
Slipknot song all of a sudden?
MomoKat.
Ooh,
Gibble.
why not?
Shh, it's a secret.
Got a
It's
secret.
a secret to everybody.
Are you trying?
I know
You
it's
attempted.
No, it's good. It's alright. You carry on.
Okay, let's carry on.
Next round.
My wayward Brit.
Ugh.
Carry out my wayward son.
Hey, look, you know, not all of us are professional. Wiggles.
No, I
Oh,
hate this.
here I thought you had.
Yeah,
Oh, it's just
my
a
bad.
song. Okay.
This one you don't like, Wiggles?
I thought he was giving me.
Oh my gosh.
To be honest, aside from the first one, and hate's a strong word. I'm not used to
He
the
doesn't
other one.
appreciate.
No, I just
Ah.
haven't played them as much as y'all have. So. Like,
If you
Hey,
see me
I
in
would-
biblical
anything but
debate
fucking
on threads,
terrible.
no you didn't. Okay. I don't see anything, artist. But thank you so much, Snappy. Thank you for the 22 months. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Get some hype in chat. Hype, hype, hype. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Oh, big hype. Wow.
Getting old.
Oh,
Big
I hit the fucking
heights.
other ledge. That messed me up.
It's huge. Oh, God. I'm gonna
Is
shut up.
Did not work.
It's been a while since I've read that. Thank you so much.
Oh, you got new lights. I see.
It's been a while since you heard that thing so much. Oh my gosh. We need to quote splits again.
I keep hitting the downward edge of this lip and not making it onto the green.
Oh, you have to jump. Jump.
I know, but I keep hitting the wrong side of it.
What did
Was that a pinata?
Bruh. Yeah, it is. You like it?
I want a sombrero.
You want to find out if I got some candy? Oh, God.
Oh boy.
No.
Old innuendo.
Oh yes.
It's too much.
Burrito.
Daggone it. There goes my good shot. I'm not good enough at geometry to do this shot.
Dad went to
The
the
pool.
store.
Tex could do it.
You gotta
Tex could do it. He can make all the good shots.
Yeah,
Oh,
he'd be
no,
over
my
here
angle was
using
wrong.
his snooker skills. I'd be
Yeah.
lost.
He's snooker pro.
Well, that's why I made him my friend, so when he becomes a trillionaire.
My friend.
Mhm.
Oh, whoops. I forget what I like to do.
This one.
He's super salty if he doesn't like win the whole thing, but he almost always wins the whole thing.
Yes.
I'm gonna win the whole thing.
I almost made another hole in one.
Hole in one
Splits.
was really hard.
Almost
Even
a
Yeah.
little
hard
torture.
too.
Oh, what did you do?
Just here now, Fisk getting ready to fight.
No,
Well, I did full
I didn't do
throttle,
it.
I bounced
I didn't
off
have
the
much
wall,
of
bounced
anywhere
off
else
the
to
table.
go.
And it was like
I had-
that close to the
Well,
hole.
you heard it
I had
here,
two
folks.
legs in front of
KimonoKat
me, one
thinks
to
the
my left,
artist
one to
made
my
is
right. I had to
frisky
go
and
between
ready
them.
to fight.
Well, I don't want her here then if she wants to fight.
Oh, not this one. I think I do it best.
I used hacks. I burnt you, so I won. And then you burn artist. Because you're upset with me.
You were gonna kill me. Dude, I was in the middle of lining up the perfect shot and you came swooping by. I'm like, oh shit.
You deserve that.
Beat it, nerds.
Nerds.
Dude, after I watched
Nerds.
American Dad again, I feel like that must be where you got it.
No, it's because I'm Canadian, that's it.
Oh, they say it a lot
Hey?
in that show.
Dang it.
They're like, beat it, nerd.
Oh, dang it. Hi, Shane.
Yep, I always fall down here too. Welcome to the team.
Dang it.
I fall down and I get up again.
Good for you.
Oh,
buddy.
thank you. Whoever did that. Thank you so much.
You're not welcome.
Sorry, I'm in a really bad spot still.
Still the right way. I'm
See?
Whee!
Oh man.
My biscuits are burning.
Where are you?
I'm on my grill.
I hear some water.
Oh!
Look at that race.
Oh, you're hanging out with the wieners.
How did you get over there?
Are you buttering the toast or what?
Oh, he's buttering the toast.
He's burning my biscuits.
He's burning toast and he's liking it.
Oh, I'm trying to figure out where to put that mess.
I've
Anyway,
never seen anybody over there. That was wild.
I don't know.
Yeah, really. I'm not sure if it's useful or not, but maybe someone will figure something out later.
I don't know. It worked. It worked.
One.
Oh, yeah.
Oh no. Oh no. Why am I stuck behind? What the hell?
What?
Get here.
Billboard.
Huh?
How did I get?
Hi! You came out of the hidey hole. There's a plate against the wall with food on it. I didn't ever notice that before.
Oh, you.
I got you, Splinter. Oh.
It's alright. I appreciate it, but it would have messed
I was
one of
right
us up.
behind
I promise. I promise.
That's right.
He's trying to give me a smack around.
Typically, that's not how it works. They get competitive. Michigan.
I have good friends.
Me have good friends.
Yeah, brother.
Why can't
I have seen dudes sabotage their best friends in a relationship just out of jealousy.
Yeah, the floor on that. The floor there is a little weird on this pole.
Yeah, it's always wonky.
I'm gonna aim a little bit the other way.
Oh, come on.
Wish it was a little bit further across this little platform. Jump. There we go.
About to jump,
Oh,
jump.
oh shit.
Crisscross and make it.
Yay.
There, that
That
worked.
was bad.
Did Daddy Mac will make you?
Splash Mama.
That's gonna make me go
Oh, I still got it in under 5, didn't I? That's.
Oh, I
Oh
got
no.
I'm catching up.
I got it in at 5.
What are all the sound
No,
commands?
why are you splashing?
I'm splashing you back.
Oh, I almost beat that.
Oh, it didn't.
Let's see.
I didn't wait long enough for
Is it that one? Yeah, there they are.
Boost? Oh, never mind. I got pushed out of the way by Michigan.
I can't move because there's a Canadian firm.
Let's get salty!
Oh, didn't make it up the hill. That sucks. Hi, Wiggles. I'm just gonna bounce off the back wall. Fuck it.
I'll take a bogey. I intended to get it off the fan.
Jeez.
But
My name is
didn't.
Emil.
I'm not doing good.
You killed my father. Prepare to die.
I got a budgie.
What the heck?
Yeah, well, I have a Corvid.
I have problems.
Oh no.
There.
I got 99 problems. of beating
What a
Michigan
bird
in
ate
one.
one.
I got 99,000 problems.
Yeah.
Just make sure you don't.
I already filled my goal of the day.
Make sure you don't choke your.
Oh, what was your goal today?
Be in bed before 3 a.m.
I don't go to bed until like 4 in the morning.
Honey, it's 4:30 here.
Oh. AM or PM?
Yeah, but let's not
she's
get
not
into
from
that. Never
over
mind. Never mind.
What? Splits? What? Hmm?
Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing, honey.
Mm-hmm.
From the lower lands called the Netherlands. Yes.
No,
Oh.
I was gonna.
What kind of request is that, sir?
I don't know, but I got
Oh
called
my
honey.
God. I need to resist the thing I'm trying to say.
I went so quick.
Moving.
Dogs are mean.
If there was speed golf, Michigan, I would have beat you.
And I hit the squat cop.
Look at me.
I got an eagle because I took my
I was
time
enjoying
and I did
the
it.
accretion
Yeah?
disc.
What the heck?
We want to get, scientific.
What is that?
I was circling the black hole. It's called the accretion disc. Where all the stuff collects before it falls in.
I always call it the
Oh.
Isn't that near where the James
I didn't know that.
telescope is?
Point of no return.
No. The James Webb's not. However, around a black hole, the accretion disk is outside of the Schwarzschild
Are we
radius.
still talking about space?
Oh, jeez.
Yes.
I was wondering for a second, but then I realized we were.
I mean, we all
if you want
screwed
me to be all
ourselves over.
I don't.
Yeah.
You got the accretion.
We all ran into each other.
Well, but then there's the Schwarzschild radius, which is where you can no longer escape the velocity of inward
Oh
pull.
no, trust me, you can never escape.
Ooh, I hit
I'm
the
talking
wall.
about space. I don't know what you're talking about.
Why did it get dark as soon as I took a
Yeah, that's a good question.
shot?
Because of the accretion hole.
Took me a minute because I was gonna say stroke, but well, I said it anyways.
Yes, you
I
did.
can't see the flag.
Yes, I did.
Oh, Frisky, you're ready to fight again.
Why did it get dark at the minute I took off, the lights went out?
I was saying.
Somebody turned out the lights.
Necessarily hear me as well as you do.
Fight me, Mono.
I'm so sorry. No, I don't have you turned down. I'm just hearing 500 million sounds and reading text messages and reading chat. It's just like I'm multitasking overload.
It's a cacophony.
You still gotta fight me too.
Happening. Oh yeah, I gotta find Momo too. I thought that was still the same messages.
Real life.
I'll pay to watch.
All right, I'll take a
Euros.
I'll take it.
Damn it, she wins again! Oh no, she's too strong for me. The brat.
Did you see? Did you see how I added the?
Unbelievable power.
What did you
Whoa! What happened to my game? Inside?
Technically,
There we
it's
go.
still on the course. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. It looked like I was outside for a minute.
He's trying to use that streamer hack.
Yeah, no, there's a wall there.
It's conflicted.
Playing a small blind child.
Right, it's tricky.
Oh, how am I in first? Come on, guys.
Okay.
I shouldn't have said that.
Doing
Now
so.
people are gonna actually try.
You mean, per chance, like me? Oh, seriously? Oh, no!
I shouldn't have said that because now I'm gonna start.
Somebody
No,
hit me.
no. Huh?
As I was
No,
taking
no,
this
no,
shot.
no, no, no. Da, 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 da. Which hole are you going to over there?
That's what she said.
Not
Not mine. Good. Jeez.
I had to.
Wowee.
Ah.
I had to. I watched The Office a lot in my life.
Right. Yes.
It's a guarantee. I had to.
Right? Sometimes I get a little lost.
It's okay, buddy.
Pigs in space.
Wait, when I said, "Oh, I'm in first," I started.
Oh,
no.
Oh, Jeff, you hit the
That's not good.
pole.
Oh,
There
that's
you
what he
go.
does on Fridays. He hits the pole.
Actually, if he hits the pole, he might have broken it.
See, I screwed up. Look, nice.
You
Yeah,
know,
you're correct. His manhood would have broken the pole.
sometimes strobes or poles can't be strong enough for this
My God.
amazing.
Aha!
It's the amazing Bang Dino.
I'll take an eagle.
I'm like, what are we watching now, Splints?
I don't know.
No, he sent me the link.
Oh, I was supposed to.
Oh,
play it
yeah,
already.
yeah.
Oh, crap.
All right, out of context, yes. So sorry.
No, no.
What are you sorry for?
Not really. I'm not.
No.
I'm a corrupting influence. It's fine.
I want to at least win one.
Hello! Thank you for the lurk. Hello! Hope you're doing awesome. It's so good to see you.
No.
Oh, sorry. Ooh, I got
Snowball escaped.
Oh, I went way too far.
Zach Braff right now.
I got you.
Not
You
a
know,
cluster.
in Scrubs.
No.
Ah.
Shit.
With Donald Faison.
I messed up. Oh, stay. Brakes.
Are you
Brakes.
my Donald, or am I your Zach? Wait, no, that's the same sentence.
I gotta watch Scrubs. I know some Scrubs.
I might be the Donald Faison.
I got two holes to impress.
Oh, I hate this one.
No, this is facts. These are facts.
Yeah.
These are facts.
Woo! Bing.
Well, that did not help me at all.
Oh, ho, ho! Sorry. I've never done that well in this course. That's why I was excited.
You're like, whoa!
I totally just went completely.
Son of a.
Sorry about that. You hit me.
Dang it.
I'm gonna blame my mouse.
Don't.
Because I'm perfect.
Yesterday I had a super bad breakdown, so things can only get better after that, right? 100%.
Absolutely.
When you hit bottom, you only got one way to go, but up. You got
At
this.
the bottom of the well.
Big huggles.
And you have
Sunlight's
so
to
much
it.
stuff working out for you all the time. You just gotta focus on the good things. Like your setup. Oh my gosh, you know? You got so much working out for you.
I think believing in positive energy is a very good thing to.
Yeah, can't focus on all that bad stuff. Gotta focus on the good things.
It's easier to focus on negative than it is positive.
Oh wait, that's a Prodigy song.
Process of elimination helps.
I
It's
like
easier
it.
to be evil than it is.
That's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
Because I always go by what my friend said. Life is given.
Land, my
You
brother.
make the best of it.
I got one hole to finish.
If you only had one hole to finish, one opportunity to go.
Oh yeah. Oh.
Oh, I hit the freaking ceiling. Whoops.
You got me all hyped.
No, shit. Okay, I might as well just jump it. There we go. Yeah, alright, that's good.
No shit.
I went a little further than I wanted to.
Come on. No, I knew I was gonna choke.
Don't you forget about me.
Too late.
Oh.
Fuck, I'm hitting the water again. Damn it.
It's getting a hole,
Up
Joe.
the freaking thing! Yes!
I'm at 8.
Always at the end there.
Oh
No!
yeah, I had a double bogey as well, bro.
I had a birdie. What are you talking about?
No, I was talking to Joe.
Somewhere. Oh, there we go.
I don't think I won. No.
Don't worry, Tank. I recognize that you beat me.
It was bad enough that
Alright, but next time,
Trauma
can
I've
you wait
never
till we're
told
in the
anyone came
sauna
out, and I
use
was
the,
able to tell my
whipped
wife,
beans?
so I'm taking a few days just to recoup it again. Oh wow, okay, well I'm glad you're taking some time. Definitely take care of yourself.
A little bit more power.
If you can, you.
There we go.
I hate that about America. Assuming here, but
Big
I hate that
U-turn.
most jobs don't give you any time off for things.
Mm-hmm.
Most people
Jump
would
out of the water.
off.
Yep.
You know, I'm just reading.
Especially when you're dealing with stuff.
It's all about money.
It's so stupid.
Sick. Work going away.
Like service jobs, they never care. They're just like, you're replaceable.
Yeah, he
that
does. That's
sucks.
But you for work if you're sick. That just makes everybody else sick, though.
No, I know, but they don't care.
They don't care. It's all about
They don't
Profits over
care
human
until
life.
they're out of people to actually have work.
3, 2, 1.
Go!
Who's gonna win? Not me. I hope not. Tied.
Oh, we tied.
But it says I'm first though because
Die in first and second.
Why can I still not continue? What is
I
going on
tied.
with that?
We tied for first again.
Hold on, I am.
You're not host.
I've been drinking and you're sober, so therefore.
Yeah, but it used to, you know,
because I means I have a handicap.
It used to bring up like your rewards.
Anybody
or
get 69? Nobody got 69? I got 68. I got the closest.
Almost.
Michigan had 60 though.
Your circle's 6'9", but it doesn't count. So.
No, it doesn't. You got first place.
You got a hat.
Well, I tied first place.
Yeah.
But I believe.
Oh, there's new maps.
I'll take a number 2 as a tie.
Yes.
Oh no, I saw that.
I didn't
I
know
saw
that.
Yeah, say nothing.
You can put it at whatever level you like.
No, did you know which one you want to do, Splints? Pick one.
Oh, Candy is better than Haunted. Haunted's too long.
Or do you want to do Olympus and we'll all die? Oh, Space Station's the most horrible one there is.
No, you used to say that about Corrupted Forest or whatever it was.
Don't choose worms.
I agree with her. Space Station is pretty bad.
Anything but worms.
Anything but worms.
Volcano.
I love worms. What are you talking about?
I mean, worms are wonderful, but the level?
Alright, we're gonna do.
Yeah,
I want to see you guys do Volcano.
Oh, Volcano is so
God.
cool. And then there's the black hole.
Too much volcano.
It's been forever since I did Volcano. I don't know if I'll remember it. We're gonna find out.
You're gonna
I don't remember it. Oh, it's down there. It is.
Oh boy.
Oh, this looks fun. Damn it, now I want to play.
Hole in one. I thought you were playing.
No, I never left. I never joined.
You told us you picked the map and you're not even playing. That's so flawed. She picked the map and she's not even playing. That's messed up.
Like a good girl.
I'm gonna hide.
No.
Oh, no, such an obedient little girl. So good.
You're in next round.
No, then I'll be in bed. It's like
Nope. Participation is required at this point. And you must play.
Make me.
What you don't understand is that
I will spam
participation
inside.
required.
Don't tempt me.
I'm in the hole. Okay. I thought I was the last one.
Very nice.
I need to my mouth needs muzzle.
Wiggles. Gonna hide. Right here.
About 40 seconds.
My ears have disappeared.
Oh, it
Wiggles
doesn't
isn't here.
I'm sorry.
Mono, my ears have disappeared.
Yeah, because of the black on black. See?
What?
Alright, how do we turn that into like
That's
some
what
weird
she
like
meant.
soulful
Yeah.
country music?
I have to look over to see what you meant there.
Wiggles, hurry.
You got 20 seconds, my man.
Less than that
Black
now.
on black, my ears faded
that.
back.
You
Damn.
got 10
Did
seconds.
you just cut your beard?
8 seconds. 7, 6, 5, 4.
No.
Incognito. They're part of my void. I'm a void cat.
They turned their beard or something.
No.
Void
It's
cat.
the same. However, Jaffron did.
Void cat ears.
You did?
He's been called out.
Oh, it's portal.
Oh, these dang portals. Ah! Somebody hit me. I was so close to the hole.
Portals? Now I'm even more jealous I'm not playing it.
The game of
This music reminds me of Mass.
I love Portal.
That's what we don't like about Space Station is the portals.
Why? Are they
Just
general?
remember
Are
that
they
Google still tracks you.
Mhm.
are they not like predictable?
It's just hard to actually finish that game in time.
Do that.
And actually, some holes feel impossible to complete.
I don't know what I did, but I went right up in there.
Oh my.
Oh my.
Uh-huh.
A little George Decay. Oh my.
Yeah, I would say some tubes are good, others have slighter paths than others, though.
Yes, apparently I could reach.
But not the YouTubes, right?
I don't think you have the right.
See where it's supposed to go? We have to make it through the freaking gap. Okay, this is even too.
Flew too far.
realistic.
What is that? I don't even know what the hell's going on.
Wait a minute.
How
Why
did
do
I
I have
bounce out?
Jetpacks.
Why do I have a
They got
jetpack?
introduced before
I didn't even realize I had one until it was too late. Oh no! Now I'm out of it.
Bounced out
No, no,
again.
Yay!
I need my jetpack to run out so I can take a shot.
Or you could just not click again.
I know, but I need it to run out. I'm not in the hole.
Have you tried turning it off and on again?
Oh, there it is. Oh, whoa. Wait, no, because somebody hit me, I now flew up in the air. No!
There we go. Somebody hit me.
First try and y'all fucked me.
Somebody come get her.
Like, oh, that accelerator. There you go.
I was in, and then somebody knocked me out. That's nice.
Your stream or...
Oh no.
Oh my gosh.
This hole's made for 5 strokes, apparently. Wait, what?
I got 12.
Why am
I
I
heard
okay. Why am I not?
Because you have jetpack powers.
You can do it as long as you don't like double click.
No, it was happening immediately when I landed. There's something buggy about it.
Double.
That's not good. I blame sticky mouse button.
Hollow.
Sticky mouse button?
Never mind, that's not.
It's not
Oh.
getting any better. It really isn't
No.
getting any better.
Nope. Nope. Mm.
Oh, jeez.
No! Fall off you.
Into the power hole. What?
Oh no. Power tools are coming.
Power tools. Power tools, yeah. Apparently.
I don't know what set them off, okay? It wasn't me.
It wasn't me. In the shower. Was it on the bathroom floor?
It's all crammed in that tiny little.
It wasn't me.
Okay, I should shut up. I don't even know what I'm trying to do on this one. I just. Okay, yeah.
You gotta go through the ring and fly over.
Oh, it has
Fly
a boost.
like eagle.
Oh, it has a boost, and you got it. Wait, oh, why did somebody hit me backwards? Right as I was taking a shot. God damn it!
Taking what? A what?
A shot.
Blend.
And I still missed it. No.
Michigan, you gotta get your people under control. Just kidding.
It's not like you guys don't want to play worms. Honestly.
I'm gonna waste all my gas. I don't have any gas anymore. What's up?
Hit the portal.
You need eat more beans. You'll be okay.
I legit have no fuel.
It's because you're aiming for the wrong spot.
What do you mean?
There's a platform below that portal. It comes slightly halfway through the path. See it? You gotta hit the jetpack as you're going through the portal just enough so you can land on the street.
No, Jeffrey fell in the hole.
I'm already in the hole.
nothing
I don't
I
know
can
how I got there, but I'm
There's literally nothing I can do.
It's time.
Michigan's a pro. He's gonna get first place again.
Oh
No,
wait,
I'm
is
not.
that the hole right there? What?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what he said.
Next time we should play this one with flags are real.
I was going for
I
the
know
wrong
it's hard
one,
to find
okay?
holes for guys, but you know, it's
Look, they both had flags in them and they said, come on
They
in.
both had flags in them.
Shots fired.
Forward momentum.
They both had flags saying this is the way.
If they both have flags in them, then yours just had a golf course.
He'll catch if you're catching Pokemons.
Look, I'm not delusional. They both said, come on in.
I'm catching me some Pokemans.
Mm.
Men's.
Look who caught on.
Oh, what's up?
Make fun of people, but it's not fun to bully people. So
Let's see.
you
What?
Who's bullying?
Well, if you're gonna bully,
There's absolutely nobody here bullying anybody else.
No.
One.
No.
Would never.
Only thing.
Oh, which way do I go?
Me right now, because I can't move.
I can hold you right here forever.
I've never played this level.
I don't understand this game.
Why are you guys going
Ah!
this way?
I don't know. I was gonna try.
Way to go, dude.
There's a portal there. I was seeing where it takes me. It might be a shortcut.
Only thing that's happening is a very oldies innuendos because I'm not playing the game.
Oh, yes.
Michigan.
Artist, please share the pickup line for all of us.
Man, just use the cutest pickup line, please. Yes. We need the knowledge.
There you go, Michigan.
We gotta live vicariously through you, you know, all us single folks.
I mean, if it's too personal, obviously don't.
Can we watch? Oh, wait.
Oh,
David did a great ball and I caught it with a normal.
Portal is shorter.
I give him to you if
Happiness starts with an H, right? Me? Guess why?
Oh.
Why?
I think.
Then he said because mine starts with you. Aww.
One.
Cute.
That's pretty good. It's cute. I don't know if it worked for me.
Cute. Down. Go straight.
Go towards where it says hole 7.
See the two big arrows? The two big arrows pointing down?
No, you didn't.
Aim to the
Yeah,
middle.
just go down that wall. Go down that wall. Okay, it's too late to take a shot.
No, we got all red arrows.
If you guys want to follow me, I'm game.
Oh, I was trying to jump up in there. There we go.
get in there.
Oh, it didn't give me enough though. Oh, now I'm stuck in an infinite loop. That was wild. How about you? Alright, so now we're here.
Yeah, I think I've been stuck in a loop too.
Jeffron, I think we go straight forward.
No!
Not full power, because that's how you hit the ceiling.
Have to go up the walls or into the hole.
Well, I'm up the walls. Don't worry about that.
Spit me out!
Oh, I still got a bogey, even though I fucked up like 3 or 4 times. That was
Oh, it's an angle too. Dang it. I don't remember how to do this one.
I got a par.
I don't remember how to get past this one.
Go through the portal.
You could go through the black hole. But it's
Ah, there we go.
One thing I used by instincts, and I just got there.
You're good.
never played this level.
Me
I got
neither.
in. I got in 3, and I just.
Whoa!
Yeah, that's what happened to me, Kimono. I got stuck in the black hole for like 3 rounds of going in and out of.
Wow. So you could technically get a hole-on-one on that one if you knew what you were doing.
I got in. Shit, people are getting in faster than me. Damn, I didn't step my grandma.
through the canyon.
What is it, like down and around the corner, through the wall, over and over? Jeez, okay, yep, I shouldn't even bother looking. Just go.
Just go. That's what I do.
Oh no, I overshot it.
This one is ridiculous because it's so far away. Excuse me.
Hey, everybody's ball, get away from me.
Just go down
Hey, we all
here.
got in quick.
Oh my! A birdie with an exploratory
Splint's over
shot.
there with his 2
No.
strokes. You have to learn from the master.
Yeah.
I just don't know how it's done, Joe.
I don't think you can master them.
Oh, well, we're messed. Yes.
Can I say something really quick? I really appreciate your
Nope.
patience with me.
Oh, of course. Take your time. You're learning. It's a hole you haven't played before, probably.
Well, also, I think I'm starting to realize that I just want to like admit that to you guys because you guys are my friends, and I want to be honest about it. So, thank you.
No, I did not.
Of course.
How many other people have it?
Yeah. Oh.
Myself included.
Yeah, and like I said, I just want to be honest. Thank you.
What
Yeah.
the shiza?
Of course.
It's like just slightly hard. But...
We're here for you.
And then you go too far.
Go off me.
I'm not gonna get
There
it.
you go.
No.
Welcome to the club.
If I keep hitting these portals, I get higher.
Yeah, I did too.
Okay.
It was wild.
You need to go shallow at the top.
Oh.
However,
Dude, I don't know how I got to the flag. I went through like a number of portals, and they just kind of led me there.
There you go.
I do
That's
think
where I
it's
wanted
possible
to
to get in from a lower platform.
Story of
Oh
my
no.
life.
A little harder.
The whole
No, it's not over. Just go. Actually, you're okay. You're okay. Don't freak out. You're gonna fall right
No, I'm
to where
fine.
you need to be.
I hit it shallow this time.
Hit it right. Hit it tight.
That's what she said.
There you go.
Yes, Jamie, you are learning. Don't master your weight.
I honestly hate that particular hole. Alright guys,
Well-
time for a bit of an obstacle course race.
Shoot, I went to.
Does nobody ever like actually look at the course?
No, I just go
Okay.
I do
because
usually.
I'm just don't care that much, I guess.
Oh, I skipped right over where I needed to go, so a little less power. There we go.
Whoa. Ooh, damn.
There we go. That's
Doing
nice.
shit.
That's very nice.
2 lava rivers involved here.
And now I need to really go.
There we go.
Oh,
Oh
It
no.
still didn't make it up.
I'm
Alright,
just happy
I could
I'm in.
probably do this. I could probably do this. It takes a little calculus, a little bit of
Calculus.
Stephanie
Times 2.
algebra.
Divided by 4.
Oh, it's so close.
Come on,
I'm
short.
not good at math.
There we go.
Oh, I see. Maybe.
That's why
It's
Kimura
ramps.
waited, so she can
They're much
cheat.
better than
'Cause
the
we're already
jetpack.
in.
I'm trying to remember which one. I'm gonna run out of time,
Just
aren't I?
pick one. I just picked one.
But don't
I
go in
didn't
the
even
lava.
bother with that. You know what I did, Mono?
Just
I
go
went
this
less
way
than-
and not
yeah,
like
and I
that.
jumped, but less than full yeet because you need to be able to hit the
I see.
Honestly, went over
It,
the
Not
bridge
quite
there.
that little, but less than a full yeet. Because you could have made
Okay.
it to the other one,
Yeah.
and that's where I.
No,
started.
not the circle.
At this point, I think if you full yeet, you might make it.
at this
No.
point, just go 100 and go.
Gotta hit the bridge.
Well, not when there's a.
I didn't realize there were so many. I got 10 seconds. Can I make it? No, because there's a molehill in my way.
Just give it a good old smack right here, right there.
No,
You got
it's
it.
gonna go.
You got it.
No.
So close.
No, lost in space.
Oh,
It's okay.
Are we trying to get to 61? Is that what they're
69.
69.
It's pretty nice.
So you guys can figure out where we're going from here.
Oh, there's a trick to this one. I can't remember.
You know all the mechanics now. Yeah, the trick shots off
Wait,
the
why would I
but
shoot?
I
I
don't-
don't know where that even goes. I can make it over there without the holes. When I use it. There we go. Yeah, oh, I went almost too far. Not quite. Alright.
Yeah, there's supposedly a way you can come out that other
Oh, no.
thing.
Oh, I hit. I didn't see
Oh,
you
come
there.
on.
Now I'm cursed.
I'm not gonna bother with it.
I'm so cursed.
No, don't hit me.
Didn't?
Let's see. Ah,
Oh, and I hit it too hard and went over the other side too.
it only took 8 strokes. Blech.
Oh, is that all? Okay. I
That's
guess
what
I'm,
she said.
I'm about there. Oh, missed. And down the hill.
Get shallower than
Man, this is this is like the Candyland levels where I'm like, it's so hard to judge how.
There you go.
Well, you just gotta
Oh,
like you
nice
need it.
shot, bro. Fuck
You
yeah.
gotta get angry with the ball. Just think of someone that you hate really, really bad and take it out on the ball.
That's what kills me
That
about
or-
Candyland is I don't know how gentle to be sometimes. It's like, what the
I
hell?
learned to treat the
That's
hill
what
as
it's fun to
a
say.
spot
Be
change the
gentle.
angle.
That was
Trap.
somehow skipped over the portal.
Me too, because we're
Yeah, I
both
did
Me
just
too.
going for it.
Not fully eat.
I also skipped it not fully.
Yeah, you're right.
What the?
Maybe
Hey,
it's just
hey,
like
hey.
three.
We all went to the same hole. Just relax.
You fuck.
Three. It's three.
Ah.
Hey, where are we going from here?
Down the tube.
Up the tube.
I got.
But you gotta hit the portal on the other side of the tube.
Kidding me?
I hit the
Yeah,
portal and it
I
didn't
never
accept me.
On the other end.
The portal rejected me.
I found the hole, guys. It's right here.
Where is the hole?
And then I jumped beyond it.
That I call bullshit. I went through that portal and it did nothing.
Well, did you,
I also fell through the glass tube, so that's a thing.
I
Alright,
found
there we go. Actually, the portal.
Can
does
I just
bring
go
you
through the
somewhere, you just have to
green
head
one?
in the middle.
Green one next.
Can I just go through the blue orby thing? No.
You can. It'll spit you out at a random place. Then you go down the ramp.
Oh, and now I'm back. That's freaking fantastic.
Oh no, I don't know where to go.
found the hole, and I don't know how, but yes.
And I fell through the tube again. I'm so done with this. Nope.
No,
Yeah.
Go with the blue. You gotta go with
I'm not playing this hole. I don't like it.
Where are we supposed to go? Because that's not the way.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't remember.
The bigger one up front, up top.
Oh,
I
wait,
just
shit.
went
I'm actually near the hole. What the hell?
to the hole that's in front of me.
And I ran out of shots right next to
There's only 10 seconds left. You gotta get it done.
I could have.
Got one opportunity.
I ran out of shots.
I'm just gonna go to the lava. It's fine. It's fine.
No. Poor kimono. Your poor tail.
I should have had that.
Yeah.
How the heck am I still in last?
Yay.
Alright.
Oh, man, I hate the holes you can't see.
Sorry.
Oh, battle cat.
The wall on your right at the start, if you can jump onto it, is actually a shortcut. But if not, stick to the left.
Turtle.
Then go all the
Battle
way
cat, I
to
can't go until you move. Are you doing it on purpose?
No, I moved.
Aw. It just looks like you didn't move on my screen.
No, I'm already by the hole.
Oh, no, you're not.
I just got an eagle. Fuck you.
Oh.
Over here trying to
Pew.
rescue a bogey.
I'll take a park.
Yeah.
I missed my chance for a birdie though.
Won't you
I got
be
8
my
strokes
bogey?
in me.
What is that? An Xmas hamster?
Can't tell you how happy I am. I'm able to play with you.
Oh, an Xmas cat. Kitty cat. Christmas kitty cat.
We are professionals
You can
at this
either
game.
go for that tube on the upper right, or you can just follow the walls up.
Wow,
Yes.
wow.
That's what people say.
Wow, wow, wow.
Why?
Where are we going?
I just got
Oh,
knocked. Who knocked
so-
me off? What the fuck was that?
You're a
You can also follow
knockoff.
the magnet walls. It
Wait,
takes
where
one
is
to
the
reach them.
fucking flag?
Inside the box.
Oh, it's up there. Oh, okay.
I got
And it's on
my...
a ledge,
Mm-hmm.
so
And there's a crazy ramp, too.
Holy cow, how did that work?
I don't know. I'm just here.
Dude, I wish you could have seen what I just done. It was ridiculous.
Redonk-a-donk.
Use your wings.
No, I'm all out of them because
Use
what I
your red
did
Basking.
earlier was wild as hell. Oh, no. Okay, that's good.
There we go.
I'm at the wrong angle.
Now you just gotta go toward that blue sparkly wall to front.
We'll take care
Yeah, I
of
know, but I'm hitting it too hard and at the wrong angle.
once you're inside the cage, go to the right side of the
Yeah.
ledge.
Gentle.
And then use the back wall.
I was trying to, but she kept wiggling.
Coming up toward the left.
Bye, Tex. See ya. Thanks for hanging out, man. Get some sleep.
See ya. Good night.
See her.
Oyasumi.
You also have magnet
Oh,
walls.
yes, I'm gonna say.
Plug
There's
out your
too
grandpa.
many people talking. I can't focus. I'm sorry.
Do I not have any balls?
Thank you.
Just mute. 2 people. Me and me.
Probably me.
There are 2 ways into the box, but one takes more strokes.
Splints, you need more balls.
That was a
Come on,
capturable
don't hold
moment,
back.
if ever.
I'm like, don't hold back.
Yeah.
I didn't say anything. I laughed. That's the difference.
That's fine. I'm not.
I don't know how to. I don't
Oh,
have
no,
the
I'm out
rights
of
to do a.
Take some time
Yeah.
to
Quote.
explore later, guys. I had to do that so many times. Of course, an easier way would have been.
They changed this one.
many
You used to be
holes.
able to
Which
bounce
one
off
is
that
right?
left wall. Now you gotta go to the right one.
I guess so.
Oh, I do
It's
see the
alright.
hole. I just have to go
Damn
through these
fight.
other
Oh, it's
holes.
way the F over there.
Hey,
Mhm.
come
Dang
on,
it.
black hole. Get the fuck.
I don't know what I'm doing, so we're gonna do the best
Oh, dang it.
and fall off the level.
No, 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 no,
Not
no.
that way.
No, 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 no.
Sorry, Mono.
Crap.
It's okay.
I bumped you.
It happens.
Hey, I'm in.
Oh,
I'm
that
happy.
Bumpty.
Michigan. Oh, now Battle Cat bumps me. Uh-huh.
Well, I was in. Hold on, it wasn't me.
Uh-huh.
At the upper wall.
I never hit you
Oh,
once.
come on. You couldn't just roll like half a
Turtle caught
fucking
it.
centimeter?
And Momo caught it. You caught the fishy.
Fishy.
Oh, caught the fishy.
Yeah, there you go, Jeff. Whoop. Oh, now you're in a bit of a pickle.
Now you're kind of screwed, because, yeah, you gotta get out of there first.
There's jumper, right? How many more holes
It's a
left?
straight shot. That works.
Damn it.
It's okay.
You're in. And that's the most important part.
Whoa, did that
Yeah.
hole have...
Eyes. I don't know.
Had more holes than you had in your body, I'll tell you that.
Are you counting my
Be
pores? Or
Because that will block your way if you're not careful.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I thought,
Everybody
I
went.
thought I would jump up, but that didn't work.
That was so funny. You said that, and everybody's like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to see the hole so I can attack.
Mm-hmm.
This one's actually kind of
Turn the
vicious.
lights
Not
on.
that way. Not in that way.
You can go either way.
I'm talking about the
Yeah.
freaking
Stop,
game.
stop,
How dare
stop,
you.
stop, stop.
I know you are.
But the
I'm
big
just
ass
asking.
5 minutes.
I'm a very serious guy. Come on.
Where's that
Of
flag?
course you
Oh,
are.
it's way up there. Wow. Can I jump up that wall? Nope.
Whoa.
Now you gotta go up the
I didn't
tube.
think-
Have to ride
I
there.
made it, guys.
Go up the
Almost.
tube.
Yay.
Yes.
Alright, here
Be the
I
first one up
is.
the tube. Let's go.
I never went
Used
up
to be
the
they'd
tube.
suck you in if you got close enough, but I guess not anymore.
Wait, there's like weird rays going to the right, so that means, oh, this one. There we go. I think
I
made
jumped
it.
too far.
Fuck.
I got so far.
But in the end,
It doesn't even matter.
Poor Wiggles, he's like, my ears. It's great. It's great.
I like, yeah, that was awesome. Everybody started singing. It was like,
But don't push me, cause I'm close to
Close to
the edge.
I'm gonna sing Eminem's fastest rap guide. Can you guys let's get
I'm gonna name
just
this.
go on.
Is that
I
it?
had trouble with the
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
There's a stink bug on my
sounds about
keyboard.
right.
I'm gonna name him Bob. Bob.
Oh no.
Keep Bob alive.
There's 2 of them.
Bob.
One on my keyboard and one on my mouse pad.
Oh no, they need to go.
I don't know what's going in your mouth.
What are they?
Shane's got 69, a little too soon, but he's got 69.
Congrats. Now we go into the volcano.
Yes.
Ride the rim.
Go around in circles.
Right round, baby, right round.
Yeah. Don't bump me, Michigan. You touched my ball. You touched my ball, Michigan. You wanted to be.
Are you gonna go all the way down before you go up?
Move, Michigan.
You have to go
Move.
down to go up.
No.
That's correct.
How did I
Yes.
bounce
Going
out?
deeper underground.
Gotta keep going around the ring. In the lava, I did a Shane.
Observatory robots.
There's
I went out.
Do the wall ride. Do the wall.
And then go into the tube. Get vacuumed up. Oh, now it's the evil portals. Don't let them suck you in.
The evil pornholes? What?
Yes. They vaporize you.
How lovely.
Messed up. They're gonna go back.
More like they
can I get sucked up? But I said,
wait, it did.
Oh,
It sucked
wow.
me right up.
Told
you.
I've been sucked a couple times. All right.
It is non-stop today. It is.
And I don't think me or Momo has had any alcohol either. Rain probably has us all muted at this point.
No.
Behind you, Jeffram.
Hide from it. Hide from it. No, don't get scooped.
You got scooped.
I ran out of time anyway.
My computer broke.
Y'all were right there at the finish line. There's the point.
We were, but we kept getting sucked up.
You
can still go. No, you can't.
No, I can't go.
I know. 77. Look at you, Shane. Congrats.
Holy cow! I went from a respectable score to 113.
You haven't really played this map before. Yeah, well, you guys hadn't really. Yeah.
Not gonna lie, it's a long map.
I am try-harding today. 2 ties
can
for
I
first
not
and then a
continue?
first.
This shit kills me.
My game literally broke.
It broke.
You broke
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
This game wants me to like click and click forever. It's weird.
Click, click, boom.
I'm gonna take a break.
Same. I gotta eat dinner.
Hurry. 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 Alright. Which. Okay.
See you, man.
Alrighty, Tank. Good to see you. Glad to see you back.
Don't forget to practice.
Let's see. Which one do you want to play now?
I do miss that. Was it not ancient? But it's one of the desert ones. Oh, we haven't played it forever.
Museum, Oasis, the difficult volcano one, or
I think it's the one right next to Haunted, maybe.
I think since we were doing a bunch of singing earlier,
Always?
we should do some karaoke.
we should. I'll just have to figure out what song we're singing. And we just won't worry about music. We'll just strike into chorus here of karaoke chorus. Yeah. Oasis it is.
Yeah, that's
Mama!
What?
You sleeping?
Almost.
Mm-hmm.
I'm tired, but I'm trying to get all the endings in the game.
Oh. 11 my time already. It's like, where did the time go? It's probably because I started later than normal.
Well, there you go. I defaulted to Japanese replying. That's my cue.
Uh-oh. When you start speaking a different language, that means you're tired.
That means I can't focus on the languages anymore.
You over here saying dangerous in Japanese. Abunai.
No, I said tabane, which means I guess so.
That's French. That's French. Tabernacle.
No.
It wasn't tabernacle. It was tabernacle.
I mean that might be,
It's
but
close.
that's not what I said.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Very similar,
No,
right?
It's fine. It's probably sounded close to it, but it's like tabun, ne? So it's tabun, and then the
Mm.
word ne.
You gotta put the but Japanese pronunciation.
You want to eat? Yeah.
I'm back.
No.
Habune.
It just means I guess or yes.
Oh, okay.
Kind of
Well,
like.
I think everybody's back now.
Stubborn is probably. That's what it means, probably.
Yeah, no,
The best.
I wasn't trying to like hurt your feelings or anything.
No, you're
any
not.
offense.
I'm just
Okay.
explaining and I'm tired.
Yeah. But that
Interesting.
word tabernacle in
That's not what she
Quebecois
said.
is, I know, but that's what I thought she said.
Mm-hmm.
Is fuck in French.
What does it mean?
It's the equivalent. It's not
means,
exactly.
It means it doesn't mean fuck necessarily. It means
Often you would hear it said this way: "Küss the tabernacle."
yeah, it means it's a bad word against the government.
Oh, well, then I'll use it.
That's the Quebecois way of that word.
Tabernacle?
Yeah, tabernacle.
Finish our last 18.
Yeah, and
Let's go.
Sorry, Mono. I didn't realize you were leaving like that.
No, I'm not.
I heard that word and I was like,
Not unless you're back.
She back.
"Who we're playing?"
This is our
Okay, I'm almost at the ending.
Oh, but if you put it in the hole on the top of the hill.
I know.
Oh, I forgot.
Yeah, I tried as well. Went too far. I didn't get close enough.
Oh, I'm going to the wrong map, aren't I?
And
But
I've been
again,
I'm
pushing
going to
it
the-
around.
It doesn't matter.
I'm going to the wrong hole.
No, don't go to the wrong hole. Please don't.
Oh my gosh.
I found the right hole and I'm done
Pew.
You want a fucking cookie or something? Or?
Yeah, I want
Yeah, what do you
I
want?
want a cookie and a sticker.
Cookie?
Good boy.
Cookie and a treat.
Yeah. Scooby snack.
Oh, come on. I was in the right
snack.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Vancouver,
Dude, are you
Right
serious?
off.
Look at where I'm
How?
sitting.
How? Look at where I'm sitting. How?
Thank you.
How did you get stuck on the side of the hill?
No.
Rolling,
Oh my God.
I was stuck on the side of the hole.
Look where I am right
She
now.
should be
Rolling?
down, though.
rolling physics says I should be rolling, not just
Yes.
Rolling,
sitting there in the grass.
Roll it.
There you go,
That's
Jack.
messed up.
Help you out.
Yeah, that's
It
weird.
was weird.
Or did you press the stop right here button?
No, because that's only with speed
Have
golf.
that option.
It's
Right.
only an option in speed golf, yeah.
You're a speed golf.
Oh yeah.
I'll show you some speed golf.
Don't stop. Get it until you hear it with it.
If you guys want to hear a little bust rhymes.
I'll bust your rhymes. Huh. Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sorry, my I don't have any filter right now.
Gotta keep them all.
I am not judging at all. I love it.
You love the chaos gremlins.
Sorry, sorry, Metal
hey, it's alright.
Cat. Now I'm moving in slow motion.
Oh,
It's
I went to the edge
slowly,
and then fell
slowly.
off. What the fuck? No. Not again.
Ugh.
I did it too, guys. I don't know why this is so hard.
Well, this
Because
one- this one
you're just
deserves
better
to be
than us, Michigan. You're just better than us.
Oh,
No, this one likes to be teased. It's alright.
I'm getting knocked around.
Skip over the hole.
you silly little hole.
It likes that
You
too.
little silly little hole.
Oh yeah, double bogey. It likes doubles.
Who's a silly
Wait,
little hole?
what-
You are. No.
Why are you calling a human it? Like,
Yes, you are.
No, it's the hole, the golf hole. What are you talking about?
Yeah, we're talking about golf. What are you talking
I'm
about?
talking about your butt.
Yeah,
Oh my god.
there you go.
This is not the channel for that.
This is not my butt.
Oh, I hit the ramp wrong.
No, don't touch me there. This is
My
Where is
no-no
it?
my
square.
mono
No,
square.
no square. Oh, who hit me as I came off the wall?
Oh, where is that hole? Oh, there.
Yeah.
It's way over there.
Hold on, am I in the right?
I don't even know, man. I don't even know.
Wait, how the? Okay, that.
You gotta go
I'm
like
loving this
backwards and then over and then back and then over. I don't
where
know.
was the Busta Rhymes?
Okay, that's
Yeah, where is that hot shit?
That is so much easier. That is
Wiggles,
so
I'm
much
behind you,
easier.
so it's your turn.
I saw what you did, but
Wiggles, I'm gonna send you, okay?
Michigan, did you see what I did?
No.
Oh, there we go. Finally.
I wish I would have.
Wait, how do we get over there?
Did you make it?
Jump,
Yeah, I got
jump,
it in.
Daddy Mac will make you.
Jump, jump.
How did y'all do it?
All the way back.
Crisscross will make you.
There we go.
Yum.
I kept jumping over.
I can't do
Quickly,
this one.
quick,
I'm
kick
so
the balls.
freaking stupid.
Did they ever work?
Hey, I caught the blip bug. Blip bug.
The what? Oh,
The blip bug. Blip,
I'm just like oblivious to this. Yeah, and then okay.
blip, blip, bug.
I'm just gonna jump over there. Oh, actually, you can. Why did I
Yeah.
not just do that?
Because we took the long way instead of the smart way.
There we go. It only took me 12 strokes, but I'm in.
Right there, stroke-opotamus.
Am I the only one in? No, everybody's in. Okay.
Yeah, it's just you. It's just
Oh, no,
you.
I'm hanging out in the desert.
No, it's just Wiggles.
Bounce off
Wiggles, you gotta
that
get
wall.
off that wall. Okay.
Yeah.
No, not that one. Or well, yeah, I guess
Well,
that
that's
too.
okay too, as long as he stays up here. Now he can jump. Well, time out.
Aw, time. Time was not the friend.
not all holes are for everybody.
It took me 12 strokes. Okay, just saying. Oh no.
That's still not a long time.
Yeah, but I was here for a good.
Well, that means you can get to work earlier.
Ah, I missed it.
Yeah, I know.
We'll go the correct way. Since I could do it the wrong way.
This is the way.
Oh,
This time you should have let me show you the way.
No. Somebody hit me. Nobody hit me. How'd you do that, Shane? He came out of a mysterious hole.
Secret.
He came out of a secret tunnel.
Hello from the other side.
Well, because he knows
Hello
about
from
human
the
anatomy,
other
so
side.
he knows a little
Hello.
Like that episode from Avatar.
It was
Secret
Wiggles
tunnel.
from the other side.
Secret tunnel.
There's a little bit of a jump.
Oh, wrong.
But if you hit the right placard, get into that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Into
okay.
there.
You can get up in the dirt.
No, you can get in a hole.
In the dirt.
Oh, excuse me.
Cheers.
Ah.
Now there's no diagonal one, so I gotta make my own. That's wild.
Well, just,
What?
yeah, you can get in the hole this way.
Didn't work.
Oh, that's
Didn't
way
work.
too
Now I'm way the fuck over here.
Dang it.
Oh, there we go.
I need the
There we
stop
go.
button.
Is it the one on the right or the one on the left?
Gosh, dang it.
Oh, there we
I'm
go.
gonna be double
One on the right
bogey
got me good.
again, man. No. You jump in there, motherfucker. That's a fucking triple bogey. Ouch. I think the one to the right is the better one to hit, but you have to hit it with the right amount of power.
I did one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did too.
Well, nobody's as good as you, Michigan.
No, I suck. I just.
Not at golf, you know. I mean,
Yeah, real
don't
life
say
golf.
that about
He's all over
yourself.
there Like, I keyed, I suck.
Real life golf, maybe.
I know, and then he kicks all our butts.
No, I'm like probably in 5th place.
You can hit tab and find out.
I think I'm at 11 too.
Hey, that was good.
Michigan is in 3rd place.
Artist, you don't have a charge cable. Where are you? Where are you stuck without power?
Probably the sofa.
I mean, that's a hell of a problem to have, isn't it? Gosh dang it, it's one of these crazy things.
Whoa! Oh.
Too much power.
Oh dang!
I got a birdie. Birdie, birdie, birdie.
No, still too much power.
Too much power. Watch out for that sand.
Chris.
You won't come down to my... No, don't get me started.
Yes.
Oh, jeez.
Stop, and it's terrible. I can do Herbert pretty good.
Yeah, I
Herbert,
love it.
yeah.
I remember us.
Oh, you were so close.
Like pinging off of each other, doing Herbert.
Yo, boy.
Oh,
you
you
want
No, my God.
Chevron, you just needed one more jump.
That's a
Now
nice
you gotta go
mystic
around.
arm you got there.
You spin me right round, baby.
Oh,
Actually,
baby,
if you hit
round,
that curve just right,
round,
if you
like
hit that curve just right, it'll put you in the hole.
You're right there. You just go into the hole. You're right there.
Just put it in.
You got 40 seconds.
We're all watching. Just put it in.
Wrong direction. It's behind you.
He wants to jump from here.
Need some diddy juice.
Oh, there you go.
Just tap it.
There you go. Perfect. Ding, 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 ding.
Hey.
Perfect.
I love you. Thank you.
That's the most important part.
Da, 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 da.
Holy hell! I was the whole way over there. Around the corner, over there, through the
He was
pyramid.
the whole
Okay.
way over there.
Pew. No, what happened? I got denied.
What up, Wiggles?
What the heck?
The claw did not accept me.
Holy, but Jolies. You
The
barely have to hit
claw.
that little thing. Maybe that
Really? Okay. Oh yeah.
This little thing right there.
I got bumped.
Yeah.
Was it not perfect?
Splints. What? Wow! Ouch!
Wiggles, did I not get you like right on the green?
Wiggles stung me like a bee, and he was gone.
Alright.
I'm trying to hit S, but it don't work.
Right now. Look at right now. I hope you're doing awesome. Yes.
Okay, guys, have fun games. Mono, have
It's
fun
going
stream.
good. Good night, Momo. Sleep well. It's going good. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Vayota.
Bonjour, salut. Take care.
Salut.
Oyasumi nasai.
Oyasumi.
Oyatsumi nasai.
And good night.
Guten
Oh, I messed up that jump.
Bye.
I couldn't do it. I tried.
Don't Vidania.
Tried jumping across the wall. I like those background lights. Thank you. I'm glad you like
Can
them.
I make it over there? No, it's gonna take.
It's just a cute little light thingamajiggy. It's just something for Fridays to make it a little bit more sparkly. Cause I don't really have much in my office anymore. But yeah. It's this thing.
Imagine if mini golf was like
Yes,
that
good save.
in real life, with like these type of tracks. Or
I used to sit it like on my desk. I wonder if I could sit it on the shelf. Then probably blind.
What
Ah,
is that
I'm
song?
gonna knock my shelf off the wall.
Excuse
Don't
That's
ask me.
That's the talking heads.
It's not gonna stay.
I'm
I
just
just
glad
about-
somebody else, man.
I just about broke my shelf in the
No,
process.
I didn't make it in the water.
We're gonna move these guys.
Whoops.
I gotta fix that tomorrow.
I jumped them walls of challenge. Oh, that was the whole shit.
Yee, hi,
You're
Six.
standing at your desk,
Night night.
aren't you?
Yeah,
Oh, that's awesome.
I love it.
Nope.
Try not-
I need to
Sitting
read
for
it
3 or
on
4 hours is really hard. I get antsy sitting so long.
Move,
Oh.
Joseph. Move.
I did.
Don't you move about me.
Doo, da 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 da. There we go.
So yeah, Wiggles, that's the Talking Heads. That's David Byrne.
Hiya, Six. Hiya, 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 hiya. Hope you're having a good
Also,
Friday
David
evening.
Bowie.
Last Christmas gave you my heart. The very next day.
Okay.
Took it away.
This year.
Yeah, save me from tears. Give it to
Someone special.
Did I ever tell you how the night before I woke up to his obituary, that's what I woke up hearing in my head?
Wow, that would freak me out.
It was spooky as hell.
David Bowie?
That particular song, too. It was wild.
Kisses. Thanks for the kisses.
Oh, shit. I went
Oh no! I'm not very good at this today.
I took my worst shot and gave it away. Oh, I jumped over the wall.
No. There we go. No, 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 don't go. Yikes.
The trigonometry was with me.
I can't make it.
I hate this bridge.
Is my nemesis.
I hate this bridge. Yeah. The pole got me again.
May your bridge rest in pieces.
No.
How do you get back up there?
I'm gonna use all my shots in a minute. No.
Oh, I hit the freaking flap.
I used to be good at this one. I'm not anymore. No.
Oh, I keep jumping.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I hit
I
somebody.
feel like we're all.
Wait, I went too far.
I think we're all gonna run out of turns.
Yeah, I'm
Fuck me.
Oh, I got hit. Who pushed me off?
It might have been me, sorry.
Ah!
Take me out to the shallow sands.
Somebody push me!
Because I'm close to.
Ran out of time. Gosh. We tried.
Mr. Splints is stuck next to the fucking bridge.
Only one of us made it. That was shame, yes.
Look at all of us. We all had 17.
I usually can do that one because this is actually a harder one usually.
Alright, bro. I'm getting up there. Don't worry.
Wow.
Guy, don't push me. It's right here.
No.
Oh, I messed that up
Cyborg in
hard.
the process.
Hard it.
There we go.
There we go. No!
Pew.
I ruined it.
Wiggles, so the other day I was talking to my dad, and he was like, hey, what was that golf game me and my buddies used to play back in the day on the NES? And I'm like, oh, it's Lee Trevino's golf.
Oh.
It was? I never played.
It was. Yeah.
I remember that game.
Dude, Tiger Golf.
He survived.
Is one of
But
my
it did-
favorite.
I understand, but this was the NES.
Yeah, oh yeah, I know that. I know that.
Payback. But Tiger Golf is good, yes. You're not wrong. Oh my god, I gotta go past the Sphinx?
Yeah, you gotta go
What do
through
you
his
say
mouth.
about that?
Go through.
Apparently the Sphinx does require a deposit. In the mouth! And I hit the nose. Okay.
I did 3 bars.
I
With
did
the mouth
full.
open.
I'm going 3.5 now. But I'm waiting for the mouth to be in a proper position for me to get in. Alright, there
Oh
we go.
no. No!
Still
There.
at
Oh
a
god.
weird angle.
Jeez. See, you feel the panic in my mouse? I could see that.
I'm screwed on this.
It's spooky in here. It's spooky in here, guys. It's spooky. Spooky, yeah. Spooky. Oh, catch horsey.
How do you
You're catching
determine
Pokemon?
that you're gonna make it?
You just go for it.
Oh, you gotta go down the throat. Okay.
Yeah, 3/4 and down the mouth.
I have nothing to say at this point.
There's so many things you could say, but
No,
tonight,
no,
Rory, after tonight,
no.
Tonight, because it got real bad in my mind. All right.
it got real bad in everybody's mind.
Oh no.
Oh yeah, it's time to sit down. Woo.
I don't think I said anything dirty, so.
I didn't
Oh, are
say
you
you.
No, it was probably me.
I'm sorry, I said everybody. You know what I mean.
I think it was me.
Everybody.
This time.
Jaffron.
Usually it splints.
Hey now.
Or Michigan, but he abandoned us.
Or, yeah, that's what I was gonna
That
say.
may be true.
Usually Michigan.
He didn't even say bye, did he?
I didn't
He
even
did.
know
He
he
just
left.
Oh,
peeled.
goodbye to us.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. I think we should normalize that kind of goodbye. It's fine.
Just
It's
dipping?
totally fine.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with dipping if you're overstimmed, whatever you feeling.
Yeah.
You're overwhelmed, these. No, you can't even make it up the second ramp. How much of a pinata are you? And I'm all the way back to where I started. That is fantastic.
I did the
Pew,
exact
pew.
same thing again.
Get up there. Sorry. Oh God, Wiggles, I'm glad you moved.
Pew pew pew. What are you playing?
Is that
There
the way
we
to
go.
or should I
Jeez.
just keep going around at this point?
Oh, I see now.
You playing Fortnite?
I don't even know. Oh, snap. I'm actually in a worse position than I was. Yikes.
Ooh, I found green ears. Let's put on the green ones. They're a little bit silvery, but
Hey,
okay.
little green one.
mm-hmm. Little tiny green ears.
Can you jump across the Bulbasaur? No.
Charmander.
It's not even a Bulbasaur. It's more like a Charmander.
This is tough. Really.
It's gonna
Yeah.
feel good when you get in there, though. You know,
Okay, you
10
don't need to
strokes
tell-
and I'm in.
You don't need to tell me that.
Y'all are crazy. I don't know what you're laughing
The problem, it's me.
I just don't.
It's me.
I just don't know where to go. Alright. God damn it.
Hey, remember you can hit C and on your keyboard and C and then spacebar and look around too.
And the WASD to maneuver.
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
Played golf
I
with
knew you were gonna
friends.
do that.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Would you look at this golf shot? That was terrible. I retract that.
I forget the trick to this one. There's like one spot you're supposed to like shoot for, but I don't remember what it is.
Off the, those dates or whatever it was.
Everybody's
Yeah.
looking for jumps. Maybe going in between is nothing but jumps. I think
Yeah,
I had it, but
that
I didn't
kinda
get the right
worked.
angle. It was close.
It kind of worked.
Let's see. Maybe it's like right at the very edge.
So I can't go
Yes.
for fake.
I'm here, but where's the freaking flag?
That's what I'm asking.
Oh, it's over here. It's over here.
Ah!
Oh,
I
I
was just-
went off the edge.
I fell off too. I was trying to jump across, and I just fell off.
I done
If you
fell
can
off,
hit-
buddy.
If you can hit one of
think
those
I've
ramps,
given
you
up.
might hit- I hit one of
No,
the
you'll
ramps
get
and I,
there. It's over by the kitty.
Which one?
I see it.
The Greco-Roman door thing. All the way
Yeah,
at the
hit
far
C,
end.
hit
To the
C and
left of where you're
spacebar.
at.
Hit C and spacebar and look around.
Hold up, Jaffrin. Listen to me. What you want to do right now is go through the middle and just make it
Go
to
through the
other side.
center. Yeah.
Just make it to the other side of this jump.
Go between the V.
Through the middle. Or you could do that.
That's why I didn't.
But through the middle, you don't want to jump really. You just want to kind of swoop over it. It's 2
it's
seconds.
okay. I give up.
Had I gotten there quicker myself, I could have helped you.
I'm seriously terrible at this game, so it's fine.
No, you do great when it's not a map you don't know.
That's the whole point. We're all bad at it.
You know what? I have a lot of fun playing this game with you guys. So
It is challenging if you do the challenging courses. Most of the time, I'm not up to the challenging courses. Most of the time, I'm just like, let's keep it easy.
Beep, beep. Beep, beep. Beep, beep.
I messed it up.
I jumped back out, Shane, and you stayed down there.
I just want you guys to know that I'm having fun and I love it. So thank you.
Good.
I didn't birdie, but I might parlay.
Par.
Let's talk to the pirates, eh?
Da, 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 da.
Frig off, you hoser. It's okay, I've turned off my spigot. It won't freeze.
Yeah, and you guys don't have to give it like full lash. Just give it like half and go over there, and then do the other part.
And sometimes you go.
Oh wow! Unless you do like Jaffron and get like what would have been almost a hole in one if you did it the first time. Yeah, yeah. You were like almost a hole in one there.
Sometimes I'm good at this game. Sometimes I'm not.
Sometimes I do.
Stop.
Oh shit! What was that from?
There we
Sometimes I
go.
do.
I don't know.
The Goonies, maybe?
It's a movie. No, sometimes I do.
Is it oh, the guy that's trying to steal the moon? He's trying to steal the moon, and he... What is it? You know who I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
The mad scientist trying to steal the moon.
Despicable
Yeah.
Me.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's one of my favorite movies series.
Okay, but they stole the sometimes I do from something else. I didn't make it up the hill enough to hit the arrow. Ouch.
Ooh, I went behind the wall.
That is embarrassing. Oops, I'm on the roof. What does that mean?
I went behind the wall again.
Oh, I'm falling down the stairs. Oh, okay, I went the right way. Okay.
So don't full blast it.
Can I get it in? Don't. Ooh, I missed.
I don't even know where the heck I'm. Looking at the C cam didn't help.
I gotta be honest, I really love that they added the bar to the bottom left because sometimes there's shots you're trying to take, you couldn't see your friggin' thing. The shot bar,
I
you know what
hate this thing.
And they added it down to the bottom left. Oh shit. Hope Joe's not getting sick. He's not feeling it. I spent the entire holiday break. I had from like not exactly this much, but like imagine from Thanksgiving to New Year's, like, and I was sick for the entirety of it.
Let's just hop over there by hand.
Yes.
Which is bizarre because I don't interact with people, so how did I get sick?
Yeah, DoorDash.
Dude, somebody licked my pizza, is that what you're saying?
Sneezed on the bag and you licked your fingers.
Did you lick my pizza?
Yeah, I don't know.
I told you not to come in when I'm cleaning my room.
No. Oh man.
I forgot how to do that one.
Rough about that.
I still
Dang, look at those points.
Oh, he didn't hit his first 17 until the last hole, that's why. Dang, he did pretty good.
Oh, cray.
4 for 4, I'll take it.
Why is it every time I click continue, nothing happens?
You have to wait for her to hit you. With the host.
It didn't used to be
I think it's locked. I think it's locked, yeah. There it is.
You remember you show your items immediately after the game, and then you can just go to... Yeah.
It's like hiccuping right now for some reason.
I'm hiccuping. Like, legitimately. Anyway.
Ooh. I think that's it, though. We'll just hang out.
That's cool.
I think that's it, because it's getting late.
I'm glad I got to play some golf with you guys.
Me too. It was fun. But yeah, thank y'all for hanging out. Thank y'all for being here.
Like I said, I'm just glad I've been able to join you guys because before I couldn't because I didn't have a computer.
Yeah.
Dude, bro.
It changed your world, right?
Dude.
And
one thing I want to tell you,
you're
Jamie,
welcome.
is that
Yeah, I'm gonna end stream probably soon.
I appreciate your energy, so thank you.
Hype, hype, hype. Thank you for the big hype. Let's see. But yeah, it's been good. It's been a good day. I'm so tired though. It was a really long day, to be honest. It's been good since about 8:30 tonight when I got food and games. Before that, it was really busy and hectic, and work was chaotic, and internet hated me, and all the things, and I was about ready just to call it and go to bed.
I'm glad, Mono, that you stuck around and hung out and toughed it out, and
Yeah, me too. I was like, it's Friday. I could so easily could have just went straight to sleep and been done, but I didn't. I am gonna pass some love though over to J3. We're gonna raid him and just to show some support. But yeah. But guys, thank you for hanging out. Thank you for being here. I will see you guys again Sunday. Do some copy pasta for some raid hype.
Oh, I'm still not subbed. I can't do that.
Oh, it hadn't been 3 hours yet, has it?
No, we're like 49 minutes short.
You gonna make me stay up 49 minutes? No, I'm just kidding. Man, no, it's all good. It's all good. But yes, let's get ready. Let's get ready. Get ready. Ready to go raid. Hype, hype, hype. I'm tired. Words are hard. Now everyone's gonna know my secret. What's your secret? Come on, man. Let's go. Come jump in chat and hang out with us, Six. Alright, catch y'all later.
They show up at the end.
Good night, everyone. Yes.
What?